A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
This I Believe. Anne Haywood, director of the career-changing clinic in New York City, was born in Keokuk, Iowa. She has traveled the world and worked at 34 different jobs in 34 different fields. Yet the neighborly warmth of her small-town childhood comes out strong with hope in her philosophy. Listen to her now as she shares with us her beliefs.
What I'm about to say may appear to be plugging my own business, but it's what I know best, and I believe it deeply and sincerely. I believe that every human being has a talent, something that he can do better than anyone else. And I believe that the distinction between so-called creative talents and ordinary run-of-the-mill talents is an unnecessary and a man-made distinction. I've known exterminators and typists, waitresses and machinists whose creative joy and self-fulfillment in their work could not be surpassed by Shakespeare's or Einstein's. When I was in my teens, I read a quotation from Thomas Carlyle. "Blessed is he who has found his work. Let him ask no other blessedness." At the time, I thought that was a pretty grim remark, but I know now that Mr. Carlyle was right. When you find the thing that you can do better than anything else in the world, then all the wonderful byproducts fall in line. Financial security, happy personal relationships, peace of mind. I believe that until you find it, your search for the byproducts will be in vain. I also believe that in the process of searching, no experience is ever wasted unless we allow ourselves to run out of hope. In my own case, I had 34 different jobs before I found the right one. Many of those jobs were heartbreakingly difficult. A few of them involved working with unscrupulous and horribly unpleasant people. Yet in looking back, I can see that the most unpleasant of those jobs, in many cases, gave me the biggest dividends, the most valuable preparation for my proper life work. And I've seen this happen in the destinies of hundreds of people. Periods which they thought were hopeless, dark, and of no possible practical value have turned out to be the most priceless experience they ever had. I know a girl who is a famous package designer for American industry. She was just given a promotion for which she competed with 6 well-qualified designers. Her past, like all of ours, had its good times and its bad times. One of the worst of the bad times was a period when she lost her husband and was left with 2 small children to support. She took a clerking job in a grocery store because her apartment was on the floor above it, and between customers she could run up and keep an eye on the babies. It was a 2-year period of great despair, during which she was constantly on the verge of suicide. Yet the other day, when she told me of her promotion to the top package design job, she exclaimed in astonishment, "And do you know that the single factor which swung it in my favor was that I alone had over-the-counter experience with the customers who buy our packaged foods?" When people talk about the sweet uses of adversity, I think they unduly stress a grim and kind of hopeless resignation, a conviction that, like unpleasant medicine, it's somehow good for us. But I think it's much more than that. I know that the unhappy periods of our lives offer us concrete and useful plus values, chief among them a heightened understanding and compassion for others. We may not see it at the time. We may consider the experience entirely wasted, but, as Emerson says, the years teach much which the days never know.
That was Anne Haywood, New York vocational counselor and author of There Is a Right Job for Every Woman.
Crime Photographer.
Hello, Pete. But say, you know, I was asking a guy in here the other night to name me one of the oldest industries in America beginning with the letter G.
I can see what you were leading up to.
Yeah, but you know, he's been listening to our program, and he says right away, glass making.
Right, Ethelbert, it is glass making. And one of the oldest institutions in the industry is Anchor Hawking, the world's largest makers of household glass. Photographer. Brought to you by Fire King Oven Glass. Anchor glass containers, Anchor caps and closures. All products of Anchor Hawking, a great name in glass. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tony Marvin. Every week at this time, the Anchor Hawking Glass Corporation brings you another adventure of Casey, crime photographer, ace cameraman who covers the crime news of a great city. Written by Alonzo Dean Cole. Our adventure for tonight, The Duke of Skid Row. Midnight. A dingy, poverty-stricken street of gloomy tenements and cheap lodging houses. Above the uninviting door of one of these latter places swings a dimly lighted sign that identifies the Davis Hotel, $1 per night. A taxicab stops in front, and a tall, very thin man alights from it. His clothes are shabby but clean and well-fitting. In one eye is a monocle, in his hand a jaunty walking stick.
How much do I owe you, please?
The meter says $2.70.
It is $5. Keep the change.
Huh? Say, thanks.
Good night.
Hey.
Yes?
You know, cabs ain't easy to find in this part of town. Do you want me to wait for you?
No. I should not be going out again tonight.
Meaning you live in that flea bag?
You may draw your own conclusion about my residence in the Davis Hotel.
Oh, no offense, mister. Thanks again, and good night.
Good night.
Hello, Duke.
Good evening, Davis.
I'll stand at the window when you get out of that cab. What's the big idea?
I do not understand.
Cab rides cost dough. You owe me over a week's rent.
Oh, that little matter. The sum of my indebtedness to you is, how much?
$5 for last week, and you're 2 days into this one.
Here is $20.
Hey, where'd you get that kind of dough?
You may keep the change.
Huh?
I'm leaving this place tomorrow morning.
Really?
For good. Give me the key to my room, please.
Sure, Duke. Where are you going from here?
My name is not Duke. It is Smythe. Mr. Smythe. I am going to live like a gentleman again. Good night.
Night, Mr. Smythe.
Mr. Davis.
Yeah?
I do not wish to be disturbed tonight. Again, good night.
$20 he gives me. It's more than he asked me for the lend of a nickel. I can't figure that guy out. Hello, gents. What can I do for you?
A man came into this place just now. A man that wore a monocle and carried a walking stick.
What about it?
We saw him go upstairs. So you must be a guest of this, hotel.
Who are you guys?
We will ask the questions and give the answers.
Hey, what's the idea?
We will not harm you if you do as you are told.
You will take us to the room of that man with the monocle.
Okay.
And be very quiet.
His room's on the next floor, up them stairs.
You first. Just ahead of us.
Sure. What you two gents want with the Duke?
The Duke?
Is that what he calls himself?
That's what we call him around here. It's just a gag. I don't know nothing about him, gents. He ain't no pal of mine. I don't know nothing about the dough he had tonight, neither.
Dough? What do you mean by that?
That's what you hear about, ain't it? You're after the money he got someplace.
This man you call Duke had money tonight?
I only saw $20 of it, but he gave me the idea how...
Never mind. Take us to his room and get him to open the door. He must think you are alone.
If you wish to live, my friend, do not let him know that anyone is with you.
I get it. There's his door.
Knock.
Who is there?
It's, Davis, Duke.
What do you want?
I gotta talk to you, man.
I told you I do not want to be disturbed.
It's about a personal matter, Duke. Open the door.
Oh, very well.
We get Anton.
Oh, no, be specters.
You. Enfin.
Please.
You are going with us, Anton.
No, I beg.
And you will go quietly.
Don't.
You slugged him with that gun.
Quiet, innkeeper. It was necessary.
Now, for you, innkeeper, here is $100.
That signal for me?
Put it in your pocket.
Oh, thanks.
It is in payment for your services and for what we are now compelled to do.
Well, what do you mean by that?
This.
Well, Captain Logan, that conk on the head was the last thing I knew till I come to. Then I got myself downstairs and phoned you cops.
You came to in here, Davis?
Yeah, here in Duke's room. They slugged him and me. Duke and them two guys were gone, also the Duke's suitcase and everything he had in this room. Just like I told precincts cops would get here ahead of you, Captain.
Davis, what name was the Duke registered under here?
Smith, John Smith.
Now tell me all you know about this Duke, Davis.
He checked in about 2 months ago. I figured him for one of them European refugees who run out of dough. During the last couple of weeks, he run completely out of it. He hung me up for his room and getting his only meals at the mission soup kitchen.
You say he acted like a guy who once had plenty.
Yeah, not just plenty dough. He acted like a Duke in the movies. That's how we gave him his name. He used big words and spoke a lot of languages.
Well, what nationality do you think he was?
No one could dope that. He never said.
You're going to be a big help to me. And the two men who came here for him were foreigners, you say?
Well, they give out in a foreign language a couple of times. I didn't get any of it. I only parley good American.
Well, come on down to headquarters with me. You may find their pictures in our files.
Okay.
You take charge here, Sergeant.
Yes, Captain.
Hey, what's that?
Just getting a picture of you, mister. You too, Logan.
So you're here, Casey.
Yeah. Annie and I have been getting the yarn from the precinct cops who got here first. We were just going to start upstairs for a get-together with you.
You learned anything new, Captain?
If you got the story from the precinct guys, Miss Williams, you got all of it.
Oh, but what do you think about it?
How can I know what to think yet? I haven't anything to work on, and I won't have until I can learn more about this Duke and the guys who took him out of here.
Their descriptions have already gone out.
Naturally. The precinct guys got that on the radio and teletype first thing. I'm taking Davis to headquarters now to look at pictures.
Wait, Captain, that's my fault.
The sergeant will handle it, Davis. Hello?
Miss Williams and I will follow your car to headquarters, Logan.
Okay, Casey.
Yeah.
Now, let's go.
Captain, wait.
What is it, Sergeant?
Second precinct on the phone, sir. One of their men has found the Duke.
Found the Duke?
Well, the description fits all right, and the guy is dead.
I'll talk to second precinct. Hello, Captain Logan speaking. Where is the body found? Hanged. Underneath the dock.
Casey.
This is getting interesting, Annie.
Say that again. He'd been tortured before he was hanged, huh?
Very interesting, Casey.
I'll be right over. Goodbye.
Seems you've just learned more about the Duke and the guys who snatched him, Logan.
Yeah. Or have I?
Fire King Oven Glass makes housework so much easier. Cuts dishwashing time, for example, by a full 2/3, and makes successful cooking practically a certainty. In fact, Fire King has so many points to recommend it that sometimes we overlook one of the most important facts about it, and that is cost. Fire King casseroles and baking dishes, Fire King Oven Glass pie plates and mixing bowls, and all the other Fire King Oven Glass dishes you will find at your favorite chain, variety, hardware, and department store are almost unbelievably low in cost. And each piece is guaranteed for a full 2 years against oven breakage. Ask for Fire King Oven Glass by name. It's a product of Anchor Hawking. A great name in glass.
Come into my office.
Thanks, Captain.
You better sit down, Annie. You still look a little unsteady.
I am.
What that poor guy must have gone through before they strung him up.
A sweet pair of killers did that job. And I still haven't a single lead to him.
Logan, you sent Davis down here to look at pictures.
Davis didn't find the kidnapper's pictures or one of the Duke either.
Of course, your guys are trying to find the cab driver who dropped the Duke at his hotel tonight.
Sure, they've been checking the hack stand since Davis told his story, but that'll probably take some time.
Well, that driver can tell you where the Duke got into his cab, which may help you find out where he got his sudden wealth tonight.
That money must have been the motive for the murder.
Come in.
We found that cab driver, Captain. The one who drove that Duke guy to Skid Row tonight.
Oh, that's fast work, boys. Bring him in.
Yes, sir.
In here, fella.
Okay. My name's Pincus, Captain. Milton Pincus. Hack license 100-208.
Sit down, Pincus.
Thanks. Your cops have told me what you want to know, so I won't waste your time or mine. The skinny guy with the cane and the one-window eyeglass I took to that joint on Skid Row, I picked him up on a call.
A telephone call?
That's right, a phone call which tells me to come to 300 Summit Road, which is Mr. Matthew Brinsley's residence.
What?
What?
Matthew Brinsley's?
Yes, sir. So I go there, rings the doorbell, the butler says to wait a minute, and then the skinny guy with the eyeglass comes out and gets into my hack.
He came out of the Brinsley mansion?
Yeah, but he didn't look to me as if he had two dimes to rub together. And when he told me the place where he wanted to
The
go...
Davis Hotel?
That's the joint. Well, when we get there, to my surprise, he hands me $5 and says, keep the change.
Oh. What time did you drop him off at the hotel?
Around midnight.
That fits Davis's story.
Did your passenger have you make any stops between the Brinsley house and the hotel?
No, sir.
Well, did he talk to you during the ride? Tell you anything about himself?
I didn't hear a word from the guy after he told me where to go until he got out.
Now, when your fare got out at the Davis Hotel, did you see anyone on the street who might have been watching him, waiting for him to show up?
Yeah, I noticed two guys standing in the doorway across the street.
Yeah?
Yeah, but I didn't pay them no attention. The only thing on my mind was to get out of that lousy neighborhood where there was no business for cabs.
You drove away immediately, huh?
Yep.
Okay, Pincus, you can go.
Thanks, Captain. I want to get back on my job. So long.
So long.
How do you like the Duke's connection with Matthew Brinsley, Logan?
That's a hot one, isn't it?
Brinsley's a multimillionaire.
Yeah, now that cab driver says the Duke had dough. Enough to give big tips.
You know, Brinsley's been in several jams that his money's got him out of, Casey.
Yeah, I know. For receiving stolen property.
Oh, Casey, a man with his
Oh,
wealth?
he's no offense, Annie. He's a collector of historical antiques. He's a bug on the subject.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to see what Brinsley has to say about this business.
When?
I'd like to go right now. I probably couldn't get into his place at this unholy hour. Let's grab a few hours sleep. Get out there first thing in the morning.
Well, okay, Logan. I'll be with you.
Quite a joint, this Brinsley mansion, Casey.
Yeah, I'll say.
I'll probably interrupt the old guy's breakfast, but here goes his doorbell.
Hey, hold it, Logan. Someone's opening the door.
Huh? What is it?
Good morning. We'd like to see Mr. Brinsley.
I'm Brinsley, but I can't talk to anybody now. I'm on my way to the bank.
I'm a policeman, Mr. Brinsley.
Huh?
And here's my shield and identification. I'm Captain Logan of the Homicide Bureau.
Homicide. Very well. Come inside.
Thanks.
Howard?
Yes, sir?
Tell the chauffeur to wait. I'll be slightly delayed.
Yes, Mr. Brinsley.
Sit down, Captain, and...
My name is Casey.
What are you gentlemen here for? I haven't committed any homicide.
Mr. Brinsley, you had a visitor last night. A tall, thin, shabbily dressed man who wore a monocle.
What about him?
I want you to tell me all you know about him.
Why?
He was murdered after he left your house.
No, I haven't seen him, Mrs. Wheelbreaker. Huh? Oh, yeah, I get it. Yeah, sure, Mrs. Wheelbreaker. Oh, dear. These women. Here's your drinks, Casey, Miss Williams.
Thanks, Ethelbert. I was hoping you'd show up pretty soon.
So it was just a heart attack that killed the old guy, Casey. He wasn't murdered.
Yeah. Brinsley's death was a perfectly natural one, Ethelbert.
Oh, not altogether, Casey. From what you told me, the shock of hearing about the Duke brought on the attack.
Yeah. At first, I figured that Duke sold something to Brinsley. Some antique he'd stolen, maybe.
Yes, but Logan hasn't been able to find anything that Brinsley might have brought from the Duke. And as Brinsley wasn't out of his house after the Duke left it last night...
There wasn't nothing in that leather bag Brinsley took into his study?
No, nothing but some very legitimate bonds.
That's what he was taking to the bank.
Yeah, apparently.
Uh-huh.
The way that old guy hung onto his bag, even after his heart began to kick up. And he insisted on going into his study alone, and he closed the door. He was in there long enough to have taken something out of the bag and hidden it away.
Logan searched, you say?
Oh, sure. Desk drawers and places like that. He We looked for a safe in the room, and there wasn't any.
Okay, see, if he should find something Brinsley bought from the Duke, it still wouldn't solve the Duke's murder.
Annie, I've got a hunch it would.
Well, now, I don't see how.
I think those two well-dressed foreigners who went to the hotel for the Duke were looking for the thing he sold to Brinsley. And I think if they believed that they could still get their mitts on it, they just might... Hey, Annie.
What?
Logan said he was going to the Brinsley house again. He ought to be there about now. Let's you and me go there and join him.
I got the same idea you got, Casey, so my men are giving that study in there a real going over right now.
That's swell, Logan.
Well, what do you know about that? It isn't often that you two have the same big ideas at the same time.
Well, it's merely coincidental.
I had a first-class basis for mine, Miss Williams, not one of Casey's hunches.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, I've checked with Brinsley's bank, and they told me that 2 days ago he withdrew $30,000 in cash. Now, they record serial numbers when dough is passed out in chunks like that. And the $20 bill the Duke gave Davis last night has one of those numbers.
Brinsley must have bought something from the Duke.
What could he have paid the Duke $30,000 for?
Captain Logan.
Yeah, Sergeant?
We found something.
Let's see.
Come on, Annie.
There, Captain.
That big leather chair.
What?
Wait till I show you. I'm used to trick hiding places, but this is one of the neatest I've run into. Look, when you press these 3 ornamental nails at the same time...
The seat rises.
There's a big cavity underneath.
What's that thing in it?
It looks to me like one of those gimmicks the King of Spades wears on his head.
Casey, it's a crown. It's a gold crown.
Yeah.
It's not much of a crown. It's gold, but there are no jewels on it.
I was just saying to myself, Captain, why hide that thing? It ain't worth more than $100.
It's probably worth $100,000, Sarge.
Huh?
It's old and antique. Can't you see that?
That crown would have fitted nicely in Brinsley's little bag, Logan. He may have thought you knew the Duke had sold it to him, that you'd search for it. So he took it out of the bag and put it in that trick chair before his heart gave out.
I know all that, Casey, but now, how will that thing lead us to the killers?
Well, Logan, the good old power of the press can lead them to us.
What do you mean?
Now, look. The only metal in this chair are the nails and coil springs. And when that crown gets back under the seat, it'll show up nicely in an X-ray picture.
X-ray picture?
Yeah. That the Morning Express will be carrying in all its editions tomorrow. With a nice story that you'll write, Annie.
Well, okay, but what'll I write?
An invitation to the death house.
Oh, 2:00 in the morning.
And we've been sitting here in the dark for almost 6 hours.
Well, they couldn't have a more comfortable place to sit in the dark. Old man Brinsley put nice chairs in his house.
You know, Casey, I don't think those men will come here.
I don't either, Miss Williams. Only chumps would fall for that stuff in the Express this morning.
Well, aren't murderers chumps?
Your come on was too broad, Casey. That X-ray picture showing the crown and that leather chair and Miss Williams' story.
That was a darn good story, Logan.
Thank you very much. I gave a reasonable explanation for that picture. I explained that the police, in looking for clues, had to take X-ray shots of almost everything in the house. Because Brinsley's executors wouldn't let the police tear things apart or remove anything from the house.
You made it sound very logical, Annie.
I played up the crown shown inside that chair as a big mystery to the cops.
Yeah.
Well, naturally, I didn't say that it was a trick chair that you'd been able to open. And I gave a reasonable explanation for everything else in our come-on, too. For the house being empty of servants tonight, and for...
Well, the real come-on outside of that picture was the truth she wrote about the Duke's connection with Brinsley. The Duke undoubtedly told his murderers about that connection under torture, Logan. Man's story will clinch it.
I hope you're right. But...
Quiet.
Yeah, I hear.
Somebody's moving toward the study.
I think someone's taken advantage of that rear window we left open, Logan.
We'll soon see.
There he is. With a flashlight.
He won't be able to see us behind this screen.
There's only one guy.
Hey, Logan, he's making for that leather chair.
He's flashing the seat with a knife, isn't he?
Logan, he's got the crown.
That's enough. Stick up your hands. What? We've been waiting for you, mister. You're under arrest for murder.
Murder? Yeah. Murder of the Duke, known as John Smith.
Where's your pal who helped you kill the Duke?
I am here. Put up your hand.
Huh?
Casey.
My brother is an expert marksman. You will do as he says.
Where is he?
I'm in the dark, where you cannot see me. Drop your gun.
Guess he's got us, Logan.
Yeah. Okay.
You are wise. Now.
But how silly they were a minute ago. My brother, they thought I had walked into their trap alone.
These Americans are very simple people, Tito. I see you have the crown.
Yes. At last.
Now, our labor is almost done.
Why did you guys want that bum hunk of gold so badly?
Father, he
Quiet,
calls
Tito. He do not know what it is. He called this bum hunk of gold.
Yeah? Well, what is it?
We have no time to answer your question or the inclination. Besides, it is foolish to satisfy the curiosity of soon-to-be dead people.
Soon to be...
I am sorry. If you live, you might cause great trouble. For the good of my country and for my brother and me, you must die.
Shoot them, Baba. Now.
Yes, Tito. Now.
Sergeant, turn on the light.
We got him all right, Captain Logan.
We were dependent on you, Sergeant.
But thanks just the same.
And the next time, Logan, tell your men to crash in just a few seconds earlier.
You had these policemen hidden.
And we Americans aren't so simple as you seem to think, mister.
Now, suppose you smart un-Americans tell us why you killed the Duke.
We say nothing.
We say nothing at all.
Yes, you will, brothers. Yes, you will.
Get him to talk fast, Captain. We've got to get this story to press.
You get the story, Annie. I'm going to get a couple of shots of these crown chasers and get them to the office.
Okay, Casey, I'll meet you there as soon as I can.
The traditional harvest moon is more than a month away, but already throughout America, most of the golden harvest of fruits and vegetables has been garnered, packed away for your use in the months to come. Now, the finest of these food products come to you in clean, sterile, crystal clear glass containers, and for a very good reason. The glass container lets you see exactly what you buy before you buy it, and the glass container protects the natural flesh flavor of its contents. A very large number of these finer products of field and orchard, of range and sea, come to you in crystal clear Anchor glass containers sealed with tamper-proof Anchor caps. Products of Anchor Hawking. A great name in glass.
Logan made them guys talk, huh, Casey?
Sure, Ethelbert.
Oh, it wasn't too hard a job. After Davis positively identified them as the men who came to his hotel for the Duke.
Tell me what they said.
Well, to begin with, pal, they told us the Duke wasn't really a Duke.
Oh, I knew that all along.
He was only a count.
Huh?
He was an honest cigar count, too, Ethelbert. From one of those little European principalities that went out of business after the First World War.
Yeah, and the Duke, I mean the Count, was a relative of the king who'd lost his job. And he was also custodian of the royal crown, Ethelbert. He scrammed the United States with all that dough that he could lay his mitts on, and the sacred crown.
Only the money gave out after a while, and he had only the crown left. So he finally sold the crown to Brinsley.
But the guys who killed him?
They were stubborn royalists, Ethelbert. Fanatics about restoring their king, who had to have his traditional crown if and when he was restored. They went after the Duke and finally caught up with him. They forced him to tell what he'd done with the crown, and then they killed him.
See, they considered the guy a traitor, Ethelbert, so they gave him the traditional punishment for traitors, hanging.
They even tied a real hangman's knot. They thought were a legal execution.
Well, in their screwy minds, it was a legal execution.
Some people are certainly funny.
Yeah.
But as my sister Edna says, quote, if all folks was like you and me, wouldn't the world be dull? Unquote. And you know Edna.
Crime Photographer is directed by John Dietz and stars Stotts Cotsworth as Casey. It is written by Alonzo Dean Cole and is based on the fictional character of Casey created by George Harmon Cox. If you're inconvenienced by returning beer and ale bottles, here's good news. Anchor Hocking has pioneered a new kind of bottle, so inexpensive that it requires no deposit. It will shortly be released for civilian use. Watch for it. The more convenient Anchor Glass one-way, no-deposit bottle. A product of Anchor Hocking. A great name in glass. Our cast features Miss Leslie Woods as Anne and John Gibson as Ethelbert, with Herman Chittison at the Blue Note piano. The original music is by Archie Blyer. Crime Photographer is brought to you each Thursday at this time by the Anchor Hocking Glass Corporation of Lancaster, Ohio, and its more than 10,000 employees. Anchor Hocking. A great name in glass. This is CBS, Columbia Broadcasting System.
This I believe. The human spirit is an elusive thing. It rarely shows itself in public for what it really is. But when it does, it sets up a wave of communication with kindred spirits, powerful beyond the measure of kilowatts. Here is an 18-year-old sophomore at Bryn Mawr College, Ann Phipps, daughter of a New York City banker, to share with us some of her intimate beliefs.
I believe that my beliefs are changing. Nothing is positive. Perhaps I am in a stage of metamorphosis which will, one day, have me emerging complete, sure of everything. Perhaps I shall spend my life searching. Until this winter, I believed in outward things, in beauty as I found it in nature and art. Beauty passed, swift and sure, from the outside to the inside, bringing intense emotion. I felt a formless faith when I rode through summer woods, when I heard the counterpoint of breaking waves, when I held a flower in my hand. There was the same inspiration from art, here and there, in flashes, in seeing for the first time the delicacy of a green jade vase, or the rich beauty of a rug, in hearing a passage of music played almost perfectly, in watching Markova dance Giselle, most of all in reading. Other people's creations, their sensitivity to emotion, color, sound, their feeling for form instructed me. The necessity for beauty I found to be the highest good, the human soul's greatest gift. But there were moments when I wasn't sure. There was an emptiness inside which beauty could not fill. This winter, I came to college. The questions put to me changed. Lists of facts, and who dragged whom how many times around the walls of what, lost importance. Instead, I was asked eternal questions. What is beauty? What is truth? What is God? I talked about faith with other students. I read St. Augustine and Tolstoy. I wondered if I hadn't been worshipping around the edges. Nature and art were the edges, and inner faith was the center. I really discovered that I had a soul. Just sitting in the sun one day, I realized the shattering meaning of St. Augustine's statement that the sun and the moon, all the wonders of nature, are not God's first works, but second to spiritual works. I had, up till then, perceived spiritual beauty only through the outward. It had come into me. Now I am groping towards an inner, spiritual consciousness that will be able to go out from me. I am lost in the middle ground. I am learning.
What you have just heard was the sound, so to speak, of an American girl growing up. The stirring process of self-discovery by Ann Phipps of Westbury, New York, now a student at Bryn Mawr. She says she is learning. Already she has taught us something of the exciting wisdom that comes with maturity to a thoughtful person.
Crime does not pay.
Yeah, I'll take Lobster Diavolo every time. Nothing like it. Boy, that red sauce.
Sure it ain't the spaghetti, Phil, on account of it looks like rope?
Yeah, could be. Hey, why you use a rope all the time, Phil? A gun or even an ice pick would be quicker. Like today, Puggy almost got away.
Yeah, maybe Dookie's got something, Phil. Look how that shirt fit my hand.
That's because you're slipping, Tiny. You didn't used to have to stick your hand in their mouths.
Well, that still don't answer Dookie's question.
Yeah, Phil. Why a rope all the time? It's simple, like ABC. We all got records, ain't we? And you carry a loaded piece when you got a record, it's another felony, ain't it? Carrying concealed weapons, see? Well, I've been wise to the flat feet since I've been a kid. And nobody can prove in no court that you had a weapon on you when all you're carrying is a piece of rope.
In the interest of good citizenship and law enforcement, we present Crime Does Not Pay, based on the famous Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer series of short subjects. In just a moment, you will hear A Piece of Rope, starring Cameron Mitchell as Dukey DeFore. Now, Crime Does Not Pay, starring Cameron Mitchell as Dukey DeFore in A Piece of Rope. There's a school of thought among the men whose job it is to fight organized crime that the old method of searching for clues and obtaining convictions on such evidence is not nearly as effective as attacking from within the organization itself by the use of informers. A typical case is that which involved Dukey DeFore and the gang which made its headquarters in a certain city at the corner of Warrenburg and Paoli Avenues. This organization serviced other groups. They accepted commissions to do certain jobs, as they did on the day Jack Paris told them,
like I said, this Puggy Jackson is getting too smart for his own good. Like, for instance, what? You ask too many questions sometimes, Pittsburgh. Why don't you behave nice and quiet, like Dukey here? Oh, Dukey, the kid's got a lot to learn yet. He'll learn working with you. Only don't teach him to ask too many questions. Sorry, Jack, I was only asking on account of if we know what he's pulling, we can find him easier. You'll find him? That's what I'm paying you for. Sure, we'll get him okay. They call him Puggy on account of his nose. Some two-bit punk flattened it for him. Now I want him flattened. Complete. Yeah, we'll take care of him. Sure, we'll take care of him. And no body, see? The bulls know he's been trying to cut me out. I don't want nothing to point to me. When we get through, there won't even be a grease spot. And it's a deal? Yeah, sure is. Sure is, Mr. Paris. Sure is. Okay, you got the contract. Just be sure you carry it out. Understand?
Hey, Phil. Phil.
Yeah, Dukey.
Telephone back in the store.
Okay, I'm coming. Who is it? Wouldn't say. You just asked for Pittsburgh Phil. Know the voice? Sounds a little like Mr. Paris. He got ants in his pants again.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Well, if we can't find the jerk, we can't take care of him.
You know, Parrot, he thinks he's a big executive.
Yeah, I know. Pittsburgh's Phil here.
What's wrong with you guys? Do I have to take my business someplace else?
Well, take it easy. We'll get him.
I've been waiting 3 weeks. He hijacked me again last night.
We can't do nothing until we find him.
I'll find him. I'll give you 3 days.
What's he want? Blood out of a stone? Yeah, I thought he was sore. That don't get him nothing. He give us 3 days.
We gotta find that Puggy.
We'll find him. Tiny's making a contact today.
Tiny, that fat overstuffed...
When you get as smart as Tiny or as strong, you can talk.
Okay, Phil. I didn't mean nothing.
Don't bother me now. I gotta think. Go
Okay.
start your car or something. We'll need one for this job anyhow.
I beg your pardon.
Yeah, sure. So what?
I wonder if you could give me some information.
You hear that, Dookie? He comes to the corner of Warrenburg and Paoli for information.
Yeah. That is, I was told I could find Tiny Schultz around here.
Why do you want Tiny?
I owe him some money.
So Tiny's still Shylocking. What do you know? Well, I'm sure I don't know where Tiny is, but if you let me have what you owe him, I'll see that he gets it.
No, I'm very sorry. I got to see him personal.
And who shall I say came calling?
Tell him Puggy Jackson.
Puggy Jackson. Now that I come to think of it, I think I know where he might be.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good. Tell you what, Dookie.
Yeah, right here.
Take this gentleman around to Tiny's usual resorts, and if you don't find him, bring the gentleman to my place in 3/4 of an hour. I'm expecting Tiny there then.
Gotcha.
I don't like to put you to so much trouble.
Oh, any pal of Tiny's is a pal of mine. It's no trouble at all. In fact, pal, it'll be a pleasure to know you better.
Josie, the rest of us girls, well, I think you ought to know how lucky we think you are.
Lucky? Me?
Your own house, a fur coat, and Phil's about the sharpest husband we ever saw.
Oh, I don't know, Ellen. He's like most husbands, I guess. Always dropping things that you got to pick up after him. But I will admit, Phil's anything but stingy.
What business is Phil in, darling?
Contracting.
Dear. You mean like road building?
Oh, goodness, no. No, I'm sure that's one business Phil never wants to get mixed up with.
Well, what then, darling? To be perfectly frank, Josie, the girls were wondering, and I said I'd ask you. Seeing as how I know you best, that is.
Well, I don't know if I can describe it exactly, but he takes orders and does things for people, kind of a service company.
But what kind of a company?
Look, why didn't you ask him yourself, honey? That's his key in the door.
Hiya, girls.
Hiya, darling.
You know Tiny, Josie, Ellen, this is Tiny Schultz.
Hiya, Josie. Hello, Ellen.
Of all people to call Tiny, for goodness sake.
Sure. Anybody over 250, they call Tiny. The skinny guys, they call Fatso.
Yeah, you're really over 250, Tiny.
300 if it's a pound.
Nothing small about this character. Look, Josie, some of the boys are coming over in a few minutes.
Okay, Mr. Man. What is it tonight? Poker or talk?
Talk, mostly.
Well, don't make a mess.
How can talk make a mess?
Oh, you don't know Phil's gang in their gab fest. Get your hat, dear.
I didn't wear any.
We'll go to a movie, Phil.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Here's a fin. Treat the girls.
Oh, thanks, dear. Come on, Ellen.
Well, Goodbye, all.
Goodbye. So long.
Remember what I said, dear. No mess now.
What a dame. What a dame. Well, let's get going, Tiny. Dookie will be here with the jerk in 10 minutes.
The usual?
Yeah, straight chair next to the door, big chair facing it.
Yeah.
That way. When the door opens, he'll see only you, and I can get him from behind.
How's this?
Okay, sit down and read that newspaper.
How am I doing?
Swell.
What are you using?
Here it is, Tiny, the usual. 4 feet of brand new wash line. Now, all we got to do is wait.
This the place?
Huh? Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is it, Mr. Jackson.
Not bad. Very nice, in fact. It's kind of quiet.
Oh, they'll be there. Phil said so.
You sort of like this fella, don't you?
He's the best. The best. Let me ring the bell for you.
Come on in, George Holton.
We're coming. Go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
After you.
Oh, thanks, kid. Tiny.
Come in, Puggy. Been waiting for you. Guys, good. All right. Give me a hand.
Get on him, Tiny.
I'm trying. You're stronger than I thought, this chicken.
Dookie, right in the hand. Don't make me, Phil. Don't make me. I'm scared. Don't. Couch. Get him on the couch.
Yeah. All right. Twist it. Twist the rope.
I'm trying. Stop his mouth. Stop it. He's making too much noise.
Yeah. He's got a mouthful of fist. Twist it, Phil.
Sit on him. Hold him down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does it. Brother, this character was strong. Hey, he's dead.
Yeah, he's dead. Look what the dog did to my hand. That fella could get my jaw from a bite like that. You got any mercurochrome, Phil?
Iodine's better.
No, it stings too much.
Well, go look in the medicine chest. Josie's got all kinds of junk in there.
I hate iodine. Hope she's got mercurochrome.
Ain't got my wind back yet. Maybe I'm slipping. Nah, you ain't slipping, Phil. You done fine. Dookie, get some of that newspaper, quick. You gonna read the paper? Give me it, will you?
Hey, got mercurochrome. What are you doing, laying them out in state?
You heard Josie when she left. No mess on the rug, she said. That's all I need now. Trouble with my wife. You ain't gonna leave him here like this, are you, Phil? You got the car? No, I didn't have no time. I was taking him around the back.
You can use mine. Mine for the night, anyway.
Okay, roll him up. Rest of the rope is under the couch.
Yeah. Here's the keys, Duke. Go out and start the engine.
Thanks. I'll have the car ready by the time you come out. Okay, usual way, Tiny. Ease up, head down. Put him in a ball. He'll burn better that way. There, how's that feel? Good. Stay at the wheel. Come on, Tiny.
You got the gasoline?
Yeah, right here.
Boy, it's quiet out here.
And Dookie and me, we was riding around. We spotted these empty lots. Got them?
By the rope, like a satchel. Funny how a guy who weighs so little could be so strong.
Yeah, this good enough. Now the gas.
That ought to bring it up.
Okay, got a match?
Yeah. Well, here goes.
Come on, let's get out of here. All set, Phil? Yeah, get going. Hey, don't he make a pretty bonfire?
In just a moment, Crime Does Not Pay will continue with A Piece of Rope. Now, we continue with Crime Does Not Pay, starring Cameron Mitchell as Dookie DeFore in A Piece of Rope. The vacant lot where Pittsburgh Phil and Tiny left the flaming body of Puggy Jackson was covered with weeds and sumac and littered with tin cans. Half a block away was a row of small houses. From one of those houses came a boy of 16 or so to watch the crackling bonfire. From the back door of another house came Emma Adams, in her hand a pan of water for her dog. Emma saw the flames and the boy standing there. Angrily, pan of water and all, she descended on the boy.
Dare you start a bonfire here? I ought to call the police.
Honest, Miss Adams, I didn't start it, honest.
Just like all boys your age, do things before you think. When those weeds catch, they'll set fire to the sumac bushes. Everything's dry as a bone. The whole neighborhood could burn down for all you care.
But I didn't do it. I was just watching
that's what you all say. I'm going to put it out.
Okay, put it out. See if I care.
All right, there.
Hey, there's something in that fire. It ain't wood.
Oh,
Miss Adams, hey, cut it out, Miss Adams. Somebody will think I hit you. Hey, stop.
What's going on here? What are you up to, young fella?
It's not me. It's not me. There in the fire.
Officer, a dead man is in the fire. In the fire.
Stop that yelling now, lady. You're safe, I tell you. Young fella, get to a phone quick now. Call the precinct. Tell them Officer Martin told you. Give him the address. Run now, run. There ought to be a radio car close by.
Weiner, stick with the medical examiner. Let me know when he's through.
Check, Lieutenant.
Now then, Martin.
Like I said, Lieutenant, I heard the lady screaming just as I finished talking to the desk sergeant from the call box up the block, so I beat it over here, and you know the rest, sir.
I wish I did. This the lady, Martin?
Yes, sir. Mrs. Adams. This is Lieutenant McKenzie, 51st Precinct.
Oh, yes, sir.
You live around here, Mrs. Adams?
Yes, sir. That house, just the edge of the lot.
And as I understand it, you saw the flames and came over here.
Yes. I was so angry. I saw that boy standing here.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he started it, and it's so dangerous in dry weather. I had some water for Skippy, that's my dog. I threw it on the fire. Oh.
And that's all you know?
Yes, sir.
You here see any automobiles just before you saw the fire?
No, sir, I couldn't have. I was in the kitchen with the water running and all.
You, son, you see a car of any kind?
I think I heard a car. I'd see it. Do you know who he is?
No, not yet, son, but we will. Yes, Weiner.
The ME says he was killed and brought here. Strangled. Rope was deep in his neck. Fire didn't reach it.
Oh, can I... That is, may I...
Yes, Miss Adams, you can go. We'll call you if we need you.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Thank you.
Any chance to identify Weiner?
Plenty. His face is okay, and they had his hands inside his legs, so we ought to get fingerprints.
Well, what do you know? A break. All right, tell the boys in the meat wagon they can have him, and we'll see him at the morgue in half an hour.
Got the girl outside, Lieutenant. I showed her the ring we got from him, and she came quick enough.
What's her name?
Jean Jackson. Her brother. He's Puggy.
It's Puggy. Fingerprints checked downtown. We better have complete identification anyhow. The DA likes it that way. Bring her in.
Check, Lieutenant. All right, Miss Jackson, this way.
Yes,
This is Lieutenant McKenzie.
Sorry to bring you down here this late at night, Miss Jackson, but if this is your brother...
It's his ring. Father gave it to him, had it made. I begged him, but he wouldn't listen.
They never do until it's too late. This way, please.
Do I have to see him?
Someone from the family must make an identification if you prefer your father.
My father's dead. Mother just couldn't. I hope she never needs to know.
If you'll do what's necessary, I think that'll be enough.
What's necessary?
Identify, then swear to it on the witness stand when we get the gang that did it. Fourth on the left, Weiner.
Check.
But if I go on the stand, the newspapers...
Maybe you won't have to do it. If you do, maybe we can get the papers to forget your share. This is it, Miss Jackson.
I can't. I can't.
Lift the sheet, Weiner.
Check.
You'll have to look, Miss Jackson. You'll have to.
Yes. It's Puggy. It's Puggy.
All right, Weiner, close it up. Then give me a hand with the girl. Why do they always faint? Does it do any good? So what have we got, Weiner? What have we got?
We got a body. Period.
We haven't got that anymore, literally speaking. It was released for burial yesterday.
Then we got a funeral to go to. Watch.
What for? I know who'll be there.
And you know more than I do.
The mother, the sister, a few relations, Pittsburgh Phil Stone, Tiny Schultz, Dookie DeFore.
How do you figure that?
Their handwriting's all over the job. The method. The attempt to dispose of the body. The rope, especially. Those boys know you can't prove a rope is in violation of the concealed weapons law. They never carry guns.
Smart.
Very. But if we start from the idea that they did it...
But why?
Puggy never worked in that district.
They were hired, as usual.
Go on.
They have a weak sister in their outfit.
Weak or not, I'd hate to turn my back on any one of them in an alley.
Except Dookie.
The kid?
Right. I've got an idea, Wiener. Dookie doesn't know us. He's never seen either of us. Come along, Wiener. We're going for a little ride out to the corner of Warrenburg and Paoli Street. Okay, Wiener, pull over and park. Leave the engine running.
Check, Lieutenant. Watch yourself, Lieutenant.
Don't worry, I'm a big boy now. Don't move, Dookie. But feel it in your back, Dookie. You're through, kid. You're through.
Look, I didn't do nothing. Honest, I didn't.
Don't look behind you. You do, and you'll never see anything again.
Now, please, honest.
Do like I tell you. See that black car across the street?
Yeah.
Okay, start walking nice and easy, just as if you were going for a ride. How we doing?
On schedule, sir.
Don't rush. We don't want no trouble with cops.
What? No trouble?
You heard me, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, sure. Look. What? Why didn't you say something? I never seen you before.
Puggy Jackson never saw you either.
Who's Puggy Jackson? Look, where we going? Where you guys taking me?
What do you care? You're not coming back.
Look, I didn't do nothing. All I did was take orders. You can't blame me if something went wrong.
We got a job to do, that's all. You understand that, Dookie?
Yeah, sure. Look, I got some dough. I got it stashed. You can have it if you let me go. All of it. Nobody will ever know. I'll disappear. Change my name. You can tell your boss you took care of me. I never did nothing, I tell you. Nothing. Just, I was the driver is all. But I never touched anybody. Not even Puggy.
You hear that, Joe? He says he never touched Puggy.
He says. But I didn't. So you are some of Puggy's boys. But I never touched him. I just drive the car after. Just after I drove the car. Look, I'll give you the dough. Like I said. If you let me live. See? I want to live, you see? And I'll do more. I'll think of the others for you. I'll show you. Pittsburgh Phil and Tommy Phil. They did it. I watched them. They did it. I tell you. I never laid a hand on them. Honest. You gotta believe me. Say something, will you? Don't just sit there like a statue or something with a gun in your pocket. Say something. I'll play ball. I'll think of it for you. I know a lot. More than anybody thinks. Say something. Please, you gotta let me go. You gotta.
Should I tell him, Joe?
Yeah, tell him. Put him out of business.
Okay, might as well.
No, don't shoot. Let that gun alone. Just take it out, please.
No gun, Dookie. Just my hand in my pocket. Cops never carry guns in their pockets. They might catch it in the lining.
You cops?
Yes. Want to see our badges, Dookie?
Cops. I spilled my guts to cops.
You want to live, don't you, Dookie?
What do you mean?
You want to fry, Dookie?
Fry? No, I'll talk. I'll talk plenty. I want to live. Tell me I can live if I sing. Please tell me.
On the radio, Wiener. Tell him to pick up Pittsburgh Phil and Tiny Schultz and turn back. We'll take this punk in with us.
Check, Lieutenant.
Here we go, Dookie. After you sing, home to Mama.
No, you can't do that. I'll talk, but you got to give me protection. I can't go home. I wouldn't live a day, not if I talk. One way or the other, I'm done. You got to protect me. I'll tell. Everything I know, I'll tell you. But you got to help me. You got to give me protection. I want to live. You got to help me. If I help you, you got to help me. You got it.
Cameron Mitchell, who was starred as Dookie DeFore in A Piece of Rope, will be back with you in just a moment. here in person is Cameron Mitchell.
Well, I think it's obvious to everyone that Dukey DeFore became a criminal not so much of his own free will as because of the conditions into which he was born and the friends he made who came into existence in the same poverty-stricken slum areas where Dukey himself first saw the light of day. It follows, then, at least to my way of thinking, that a certain responsibility rests upon all of us more fortunate citizens. Our own complacence, even the shameful little thrills we get when we read of murders and other sadistic crimes in our daily papers, tend to encourage, rather than uproot, the organized crime which has such a tight grip on so many phases of our national life. And in the last analysis, it falls on us, even more than on our police, to prove to one and all that crime does not pay.
Thank you, Cameron Mitchell. Crime Does Not Pay is written by Ira Marion and directed by Mark C. Loeb, with music composed and conducted by John Gart. Technical advisor is Burton B. Purvis. The events, characters, and names used in the story you've just heard are fictitious. Any similarity is purely coincidental.
This I believe. Anne Rombo is a quiet, dignified, and gracious woman with an easy sense of humor. Her activities include traveling over most of the world by foot, burro, camel, auto, rail, ship, and plane. She blazed the trail for the 1951 all-woman transcontinental air race and trained flyers for the Navy in World War II. In addition, she lectures on the social sciences, in which she holds a Master of Arts degree. These are some of the beliefs she has assembled in her busy life.
Amelia Earhart once wrote, "Courage is the price that life exacts for granting peace. To me, courage is the act of living one's beliefs. This I believe, that running through all nature, all races, and the universe is the divine principle of life. This divine principle, called God, animates all of us. It is like a circle whose center is everywhere, whose circumference is nowhere. My oneness with nature is best experienced as I walk alone in my garden, when the dew is still clinging to the camellia, the violet, the rose. Better yet, I live this oneness with nature as I fly, alone in my plane, into the sunrise, high in limitless space, and into the embrace of stillness, peace, and God. My oneness with races is felt most keenly in my at-homeness with Siberian Eskimos, Peruvian Indians, or Chinese coolies. By contrast, I have found this oneness in dining at the Waldorf or talking with diplomats at embassies abroad. We are all human beings, all one, each individual trying in his own environment to live honestly while preparing for a better future. This I believe. The Bible says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. The fact that man was given the power of choice makes it possible for him to control his own destiny. Those who have used that power have found peace. Personally, I am thinking of the time 15 years ago when my doctors pronounced me an invalid for life. A heart, they said, does not rebuild at your age. Give up travel, teaching, and above all, flying? No. So aware of the power which is within me, I simply drew upon it. I have taught history, and history has taught me that basic ethical principles have always been known to mankind. We have only developed and perfected them. Also, history has convinced me that each individual has contributed his cultural bit to a rivulet, which has in turn commingled with a larger stream, which has eventually been buffeted, swirled, and finally merged into the ocean of present-day life. Each generation, each civilization has seen a better world. Yes, even in these times, which I am painfully aware of because I am living through them, even in these times, great constructive movements are growing in power and strength. To me, the principle of life is universal, and I believe that as individuals, we control our own destinies. So we can, in turn, control the destiny of the world. When each of us is at peace with the best in self, when all of us will work for the best of all, then we will have world peace. We simply need courage. To me, courage is the act of living one's beliefs.
They're the creed of Californian Anne Rombo, whose sincere belief is reflected in an active and useful life.
Calling all detectives. A mysterious killer is at large in the city, striking down rich and poor alike, and leaving no clue to his identity. Could you catch him? That is the problem on this page from my casebook. The casebook of Jerry Browning, private detective. I, Jerry Browning, private detective, don't care how savage a criminal I'm up against, just so I know who he is. Dr. Waite speaking. Mrs. Danilo in Ward 6. Thank you. Yes, I will attend the autopsy. Dr. Waite was superintendent of Memorial Hospital in suburban Ridge Heights. When he put down the phone and turned to me, his face was white. Another death, Mr. Browning. I tried to look at the thing coldly. Dr. Waite, isn't it possible that you're getting worked up about these deaths without actual justification? After all, a certain number of people who come to a hospital die in the normal course of events. Dr. Waite shook his head. You don't understand, Mr. Browning. In a hospital this size, we can chart the probable mortality rate from a combination of all causes. And that mortality rate jumps sharply in the absence of epidemic. Then, Mr. Browning, something is dreadfully wrong. Dr. Waite winced as his call signal sounded again. Mr. Browning, I've reached the point where I'm afraid to pick up the phone. I am convinced that somebody is killing people here in a way I have never encountered before. I beg of you, Mr. Browning, find that killer. When the death rate at a hospital suddenly increased, the hospital superintendent hired me to find the possible killer within the hospital. Mr. Browning, in my 15 years' experience, I've never met anything like this. These people who have died, some are rich, some poor. They're old and they're young. All of them had specific, serious ailments to which we can point. Yet, in a large percentage of the cases, those ailments should not have been fatal. Dr. Waite, you don't have a single employee or staff person who could have had contact with every one of the people whose deaths you suspect. I'm convinced that the killer is someplace at large, either in Ridge Heights or in the city. 2 weeks later, I walked into my office one evening, slumped down at my desk, and was just about ready to admit I was late. I'd been checking into the lives of some of the people whose deaths were considered mysterious. It was like trying to put together pieces from a bunch of mixed-together jigsaw puzzles. Absolutely nothing made any sense. Why should a middle-aged retired banker and the 30-year-old wife of a day laborer die on the same day? For reasons that nobody could fathom. I was just about ready to call up the newspapers and announce that some kind of a maniac was at large. I knew only too well what kind of a panic that would start. And in my heart, I didn't believe in the maniac theory, any more than I believed that hospital personnel were in any way responsible. Finally, I decided on one last attempt to crack the mystery. To take 2 isolated examples, the retired banker and the laborer's wife. and to trace every minute of the last week they lived before entering the hospital. Because so far as I could learn, that was the only thing both the banker and the laborer's wife had done in common. They didn't live in the same districts. They certainly didn't eat at the same places. They didn't know any of the same people. But each had, for totally different reasons, ridden to the city and back on the Ridge Heights streetcar. It certainly wasn't much of a clue, but it was the only one I'd found in weeks. Ridge Heights is across the river. And to get there, the streetcar goes through a tunnel under the river, maybe half a mile long. The total time in the tunnel I clocked at not over 1 minute. I must have taken 20 rides on that streetcar back and forth without the remotest idea of what I was looking for until at 5:30 that afternoon. After we'd been in the tunnel 5 minutes, I asked the conductor about the delay. The traffic pile-up. Orders from the bridge overhead cross the tunnel exit and make a traffic jam. Once in a while, hold us up as much as 10 minutes with its 3-4 streetcars in the tunnel. This tunnel was opened up only 3 months ago to speed traffic, but they want to fix the approaches, too. I nodded, went back to my feet, swallowed to equalize the pressure on my ears. Pressure? Could that possibly be the answer? I knew that men died at the bends as a result of underwater pressure, but that was men who worked hundreds of feet down under terrific pressure. It just didn't seem to be any other answer. Mr. Brennan, I've checked your theory. Fantastic, but it's true. Doctor, there were 50 people in that streetcar easily. If the pressure in that tunnel can kill people, why have there been only a handful of deaths instead of wholesale slaughter? Because, Mr. Brannon, it required an extraordinary combination of circumstances. First, normally healthy people are not affected by moderate changes of air pressure. So, it first required a quite sick person, such as were all those who died. Then, such a person had to be present in the streetcar at a time when it was delayed for a prolonged period in the tunnel. And finally, such a person must have indulged in unusual physical exertion, such as a long walk, shortly thereafter. Well, that was a lot of things to put together. But if you're dealing with large enough numbers of people, you can get any freak combination of circumstances, even a sweepstakes winner. New autopsies verified the presence of liquid nitrogen in the bloodstreams of the victims, and that was the mysterious killer. That was many years ago. The approaches to the Ridge Heights Tunnel have long since been straightened out. And these days, underwater tunnels operate on far less pressure than they did at that time. I've never since run into a similar case. But, like I said, there's no killer so savage as the impersonal combination of freak circumstances that can kill you just as thoroughly as though it did it on purpose. Listen next time to Calling All Detectives, Mystery Drama, Mystery Quiz, and a chance for you to match wits with yours truly, Jerry Browning, Private Detective.
Murder at midnight.
This kind of glass tube was pointing at Matson's body. When the switch went in, there was a whining noise, and then a white light shot out of it. I know you won't believe this. When it hit the body, it went all soft. It was just like the bones had gone out of it. It just went all soft and kind of poured off the chair and onto the floor.
Midnight, the witching hour when the night is darkest, our fears the strongest, and our strength at its lowest ebb. Midnight, when the graves gape open and death strikes. How? You'll learn the answer in just a minute in The Heavy Death. And now, Murder at Midnight. Tales of mystery and terror by radio's Masters of the Macabre. Our story, written by Robert Newman, is a weird and fantastic nightmare called The Heavy Death. A road just outside the small town of Medford. And running up at his face white and terror-stricken in the moonlight is a small, slight man. He pauses every once in a while, his breath whistling in his nostrils, listening, and then runs on again. Finally, seeing the two green lights of the state police barracks, he moans with relief. Runs in.
Oh, thank God there's somebody here. I was afraid. Look, officer, you gotta get me away from here fast.
Huh? Just a minute, Mac. Take it easy.
Easy. You'll be here any minute coming after me. I gotta get away, I tell you.
And I'm telling you to take it easy. Just wait till I get through talking to Dr. Carden
Dr.
here.
Carden? Are you Dr. Carden lives in the big white house near the river?
Why, yes.
Well, then you can tell him it's true. Otherwise, he won't believe me. Nobody will. It was you who swiped the big glass thing from your laboratory.
A Geiger counter? You stole it?
He made me do it.
Oh, now, whoa. This is getting interesting. That's why Dr. Carden's here. You know anything about his assistant? Young chap named Matson?
Yeah. He's dead. He killed him.
Matson? Matson dead? Hey, maybe you better start from the beginning. Tell us the whole story.
Yeah, but it didn't even right time. He'd be coming after me and... Oh, okay. Like I said, you won't believe it. My name's Sullivan. They call me Shill because I'm a come-on with Bryant's Giant Carnival. Weight guessing is my racket, but I turn my hand at almost anything, you know, shell game, 3-card money. Well, we hit town about 10 days ago for a 3-day stand. The first 2 nights was pretty quiet. The third one was when it happened. There was a pretty fair crowd around, and I was warming him up for some weight guessing, with maybe some side bets, when he came up.
Okay, folks, okay. Step up, hurry up. And let Foxy Sullivan guess your weight. A Cupid doll is on 3 pounds off either way. Now, what do you say, lady? Your weight's not like your age, you know. Ha, ha, it always shows.
What about you, sir? Guess your weight?
Do you really think you can?
Do I think?
Ha, ha, listen to him, folks. You bet your sweet life, brother.
Oh, I have already. The question is, will you bet your sweet life?
What? What do you mean? Look, do you want me to guess your weight or not, huh?
On the terms I outlined, why, yes. I'll be glad to have you try.
Try, sissy. Okay, folks, here we go. Now, let's see. A big man, a solid man. Hefty pair of arms on him. I say, 195 pounds.
195.
And 3 pounds off either way, and you get a Cupid doll. Now, just sit right down here on the scale. There you are. Hey, what goes on here? You broke my scale.
Yes, it only goes up to 350 pounds.
300... What do you got in your pockets?
Would you like to look?
Nah. No, I don't know how you did it, but more power to you, brother. When I lose, that pay with a smile. Well, here's your Cupid.
Thank you. No, that's not what we bet.
What? What do you mean?
I think you know what I mean. The carnival closes in about an hour. I'll be waiting.
He went walking off, slow and heavy. The crowd stood around for a couple of minutes, gaping at the broken scale and talking. Then they all decided it was some kind of a gag and went on and forgot about it. For me, I couldn't forget about it. Somehow I didn't think it was a gag. There was something about him, the way he moved, the way he talked, it scared the pants off me. I hung around for a while, getting my stuff together, and then I looked up Rube Thomas. Rube's a big guy. Used to be a wrestler, and he was just closing up his Wheel of Fortune. Hiya, Rube. How are they going?
Not bad for a one-horse town. How's it you?
Oh, not too bad. Till some wise guy busted my scale.
Huh? Busted your scale?
Yeah. Well, Rube, that's why I come over. He was a queer duck. I just couldn't figure his pitch, but he said something about waiting for me when he closed up, so I thought...
So you thought maybe you should have some protection walking down to the station.
Yeah.
That's a hot one.
What is?
You and your side bets. Well, don't worry about it. Ain't no one gonna lay a finger on you when you're with Rube Thomas.
I helped Rube take down the wheel. But even then, we were about the last to leave the fairgrounds. We went out through the main gate. It was pretty dark, but I wasn't worried anymore. I'd never yet seen anybody Rube couldn't handle.
Then I heard footsteps. Slow and heavy ones. And then...
There you are. I've been waiting for you.
Yeah? No kidding?
This the guy?
Yeah,
Okay, Bub. What's the pitch? What's your racket?
Racket? There's no racket. Your friend and I had a bet. I've come to collect.
Yeah? Well, I'll tell you a funny thing about carnivals. When we pull up stakes and get ready to go, all bets is off.
I'm afraid this one can't be called off. You see, I need him.
You need him?
Yes. You bet your life, remember? And you lost.
You mean you... Oh, you're nuts.
There are people who have thought so, but I'm not. Shall we go?
No. No, I ain't gonna. Rube.
Take it easy, Shell. I told you all bets was off, mister. Now you gotta blow 'em. I gotta have to get rough with you.
I wouldn't if I were you.
No? Well, here's one just for luck. Oh, my hand.
I warned you.
Oh, you. I'll break your bloody neck up.
I'm sorry. I didn't want to hurt you.
You won't believe this. Like you probably won't believe what happened afterwards. He didn't swing or anything. He just kind of dropped his fist on Rube's head. And he smashed in his skull like it hit him with a lead pipe.
Good Lord, you killed him.
Yes. Shall we go?
No, I...
Look at me. Into my eyes. That's right. Now remember this. You're mine. Mine to do it exactly as I wish. And you do exactly what I wish. Do you understand?
Yes, sir, yes.
Good. Then let's go.
Something happened. Happened to me then and there. Something I ain't over yet. It wasn't just that I was scared, more scared than I've ever been in my life. It was something else. When I looked into his eyes, it was like that just plain didn't count. That no one or nothing did. Then I just had to do whatever he wanted, whatever he said. We got in his car and drove to your place, Doc, and we stopped in front of it, and he pointed at a kind of low building behind it.
That is Dr. Carden's laboratory. And he has something there I need. A Geiger counter. You're going in and get it for me.
You mean swipe it?
Yes. It would take too much time to make one of my own, and as I said, I need it. Now, it's a long glass tube, about this size, with filaments inside it.
Yeah, but suppose somebody sees me. Suppose somebody comes...
Carden's away in Washington with that childish atomic energy commission of theirs. There's only Matz and his assistant, and he must be sleeping. If he should try and stop you, well, you'll have to take care of him, but remember, I want that Geiger counter.
Like I said, it was like I was numb. Didn't have a mind of my own. I did it. Found an open window. Went in and got what he wanted. Brought it out to him. He didn't say a word. He just put it in the back of the car and we drove away. It was about 11:15 when we got to his place. Big rambling house at the foot of a mountain. He took me around the back through a kind of iron door and... Well, it was like out of Buck Rogers, the 25th century. Big glass tubes, dynamos, wires. He must have noticed me staring because he said...
Go ahead, look around. There's equipment here that doesn't exist anyplace else in the world.
Yeah, but what's it all for?
And if I told you, you'd be even more frightened than you are now. By the way, what's your name?
Sullivan. Sean Sullivan.
I'm Dr. Vance. Dr. Brian Vance.
Doctor?
Of nuclear physics. Without doubt, the greatest scientist in the world today. Do you know anyone else who has been able to convert most of the elements of the human body into the heavy isotopes?
Look, I don't know what you mean, but is that...
Yes. That is why not only my weight, but the entire atomic mass of my body's... What's that?
Sounds like a car.
Yes, but who... Oh, Matson. He must have heard you in the laboratory, followed us.
Well, I was as quiet as I could, be honest.
There's nothing to be worried or excited about. Hello, Matson.
Vance, I should have known it was you.
Should have known what was me.
That stole our Geiger. You've done an awful lot of strange things in your career, Vance, but this time you've gone just a little too far. This time I've got you dead to rights.
I'm afraid it's just the other way around, Matson.
What do you mean? What? Vance.
You don't really think I'd let you or anyone interfere with what I'm doing, do you?
You killed him, you...
Of course. Drag him over there out of the way. There's a certain experiment I'm just about ready to try, and his body will come in very handy.
With Shil Sullivan staring at him in abject horror, Dr. Vance turns away from the body on the floor, lumbers over to one of his instruments, and begins examining it. And far away, in the town's church steeple, the clock strikes 12 for...
Murder at midnight.
And now, back to Murder at Midnight and The Heavy Death. It's just a moment later. Sergeant Rowe and Dr. Carden staring incredulously at Sullivan as he pauses for a moment in his terrifying story. Then the trooper says,
We did find Thomas's body out by the fairground, but it was an accident. Hit by a truck or something. You mean this Vance killed Madsen just like that?
Shot him without turning a hair.
Sure sounds to me like... Dr. Carden, what do you think?
I don't know, Sergeant. I do know Vance. I knew that he had a laboratory somewhere near here. And, well, it's true that he probably knows as much about nuclear physics as anyone in the world. We tried several times to get him to work with us during the war, but he laughed at us, said that what we were doing was childish.
Yes, but this other business, this changing himself, making himself heavy.
Yeah, even his voice was heavy like.
Is that possible, Doctor?
Theoretically, yes, I suppose it is. After all, Professor Urey did it with hydrogen, made heavy water. And we've done it with uranium.
Yes, but why would he want to do it? Why?
There I can only guess. For all his genius, I've always felt Vance was a little mad. It's possible he believes that by changing the atomic weight of his body, he can make it immune to disease.
Yeah, that's right. It's true. He said he was going to live forever.
Well, go on, Sullivan. What happened after that?
He made me help him do things around the laboratory. Wire and stuff like that. Seems he got tired pretty easy, and his hands was too heavy to do work that was delicate-like. Maybe that's why he needed someone else around. Finally, I couldn't keep my eyes open anymore, and I fell asleep on a cot in the corner. I don't know if he ever slept or not. If he did, I never seen him. When I woke up, it was around noon, and he had Madsen's body propped up in a chair against a kind of a silver screen.
So you finally got up, eh, Sullivan? I was just going to wake you.
Yes, sir. I'm kind of hungry, sir.
Yes, food. Well, you're going to help me with a little experiment first, and then we can eat.
Yes, sir. What kind of experiment? You mean...
Why, yes. An experiment on our friend Madsen's body. He won't mind. Just a little calcium transmutation. First, we switch on our alpha generator here. Then we make a few frequency adjustments.
What are you going to do?
You'll see. Over there, stand by that master switch on the converter. When I give the word...
Yes, sir.
You'll let it climb just a little higher. A little higher. Now!
Oh, good Lord.
There's a kind of glass tube pointing at Madsen's body. When I threw the switch, a white light shot out of it, and I know you won't believe this. When it hit the body, it went all soft. It was like the bones had gone out of it. It just went all soft and kind of poured off the chair onto the floor. I must have fainted or something. When I come to, Vance was standing over me, smiling.
Anything the matter, Sullivan? Don't you feel well?
Yes, sir. I'm all right. I was just... That was the most awful, most terrible thing.
Sullivan, if you were a soldier and you saw that happen to the man next to you, would you feel much like fighting after that?
What? You mean you're going to do that?
I'd advise you not to ask too many questions. We'll dispose of the rest of the body later, but now let's eat.
Like I said, it was just about a week ago. I
Can't really tell you what happened after that because I was in a daze most of the time. We worked, him showing me what to do, wiring, soldering stuff. We ate. Sometimes he let me sleep. Then this morning it happened. I woke up at about 10. He was standing looking at this thing we've been making.
Well, Sullivan, it's finished. Just a few adjustments and we were ready to go.
Yes, sir.
I'm profoundly grateful to you for your help. I will show you how grateful in a very concrete fashion.
You mean you're going to let me go? You're going to let me
go? Really, Sullivan? That's a little foolish, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. I just thought... Yeah, I guess it is. Well...
Where are you going?
Inside to fix some breakfast.
No, Sullivan, no food for you. Not today.
No food?
No, because tonight you're going to enjoy a tremendous experience. One I experienced myself several months ago. And the process is much simpler when the stomach is empty.
Process? You mean you're going to make me like you? Heavy?
Yes, Sullivan. I told you I was grateful to you and...
Oh, no, Doc. No, please, will you? For heaven's sake...
You're being rather childish. I'm not going to bother detailing what it will mean to you physiologically, the immunities it will give you. I will merely tell you that we'll do it tonight.
Getting changed to become like he was. Heavy as lead. Well, it did something to me. It was like I'd been doped, hypnotized. All that time afraid to do anything to make him mad. Now I was even more scared to stay. I made out like everything was fine, and I waited. I waited and watched. Then about an hour ago, I got my chance. He went into the house to get something. He didn't lock the door. I was out like a shot, grabbed his car and started down the driveway. As I went past the house, I heard a window open.
Sullivan, come back! Come back! You'll regret this! You'll regret it!
That's the story. I was so jittery, I went to a ditch just outside of town and had to run the rest of the way. I don't care whether you believe me or not, whether you think I'm nuts, what you do to me. I just want one thing. Get me away from here. Get me far away fast. Because he's going to be coming after me, I know it.
Well, I'm not saying what I think. Not yet. What about you, Dr. Carden?
I wouldn't like to say either. Knowing Vance, I believe he's capable of everything Sullivan told us. And theoretically, everything he described is possible.
I told you, I don't care whether you believe me or not. Just get me away from here.
I can't for an hour or so. Have to call Bridge and have them send down some men. Then we can really go into this. In the meantime, I'll put you in one of the detention cells. You'll be okay there.
Are they strong? Really strong?
Plenty strong enough to keep you in and anyone else out. Come on.
Sergeant! Hey, Sarge! Dr. Carden! Ain't it about time? Ain't it? Hey, can't you hear me? Sergeant! Dr. Carden!
Oh, gee, Sarge. I was starting to get a little worried. You.
Yes, Sullivan. You didn't really think you were going to get away, did you?
Oh. What are you going to do? You can't do anything. The cell door is locked.
And is it? Let's see.
There, you see. You can't break it down. You can't. It's steel.
Yes, Sullivan. But steel can be smashed if it has to be.
No.
I told you you'd regret running away, didn't I?
No. I'll come back. I'll do anything you want.
I'm afraid it's too late, Sullivan.
No.
Too late for anything but this.
Dr. Carden. Did you hear it, too?
I'm not sure. But it did sound like...
This way, quick. Good Lord. Look at that cell door. Oh, and Sullivan. His skull.
Smashed like an eggshell. Well, Sergeant?
I guess I must be nuts, too. Look, Doc. He must have just left here. If we wait for the men from Bridgeton, give him time enough to get back to his place or those blasted ray things of his, there's no telling what he'll do, how many lives he'll cost. But if we leave right now, the two of us, maybe we can get there before him, cut him off. What do you say? You game?
I'm game, Sergeant. Let's go.
must be it. It's right ahead.
The laboratory's probably around and back. Well, Sergeant, the lights are on.
Yeah. Maybe he left them on when he came into town and got Sullivan. Or maybe...
No. No, listen. He's back. We're too late.
What in heaven's name is that?
An electrostatic generator or a cyclotron. He's... Oh, good Lord. Up the mountain there. Look.
Great Scott. Looks like a hole or something. But it's moving.
A neutron beam. Disintegrating. Eating its way into the mountain. He must have found some way of harnessing...
Dr. Gordon, swinging this way. Must have seen us. Come on, run.
No good, Sergeant. Seems to have a range of almost half a mile.
But eating through solid rock that way. If it hits us... You came to see just what Vance was doing, eh, Carden? Well, take a good look. The best one you'll ever take at anything. For you shall be the first to...
And did you think that you were going to get away with it, Vance?
Who's that?
Take a look at the Geiger.
Gentlemen, it's too much. Cut that down.
And what'll happen when you release the load?
But I've got to cut it down. Sergeant, Sullivan.
Yeah, that's because I'm here that you join me. You can't do it alone. Too heavy. Too slow.
Climbs any higher. Good Lord, the generator. I've got to cut that down, too. Dr. Carden. Dr. Carden, where are you?
Over here, Sergeant.
Are you all right?
A little shaken up, but yes, I'm all right.
Oh, the laboratory. The whole house. Look.
Yes.
What happened?
Something got out of control. Too much centrifugal force. Or the load released too suddenly, and the whole thing exploded. Now there are things that we'll never know. Except something we knew already. That science can either be man's servant or his master and his doom.
And as I stand there, gazing at the smoking ruins that were once Vance's laboratory, through the blessed silence comes the distant clang of the clock in the town's church steeple, for the second time, striking 12 for...
Murder at midnight.
Remember to be with us again when death hovers like a dark cloud and the clocks strike 12 for...
Murder at midnight.
The part of Shill Sullivan was played by Frank Reddick. With music by Charles Paul, Murder at Midnight was directed by Anton M. Leader.
This I believe. Ann Talbot Donaldson, wife of one of the builders of the Grand Coulee Dam, was born in Missouri, reared in Wyoming and Pennsylvania, now lives in Yonkers, New York. A most energetic citizen, interested in everything from women voters to housing projects. Here, her creed.
The basis of what I believe is the Christian religion in which I was brought up by my father, an Episcopal missionary bishop. In spite of much compromise and considerable doubt concerning some of the orthodox features of my early training, the years have brought no change in its fundamental teaching: the loving fatherhood of God, the brotherhood of man, the ultimate triumph of good over evil, and the painfully slow development by mankind, with God's help, of a kingdom of heaven either here or elsewhere. I believe, therefore, that the most important, most worthwhile thing that any of us can do in this life is to make the best possible contribution toward the beginning of God's kingdom here on earth. This belief gives me comfort and satisfaction, not only in my own church with its beautiful familiar services, but in other churches and groups of people which are earnestly striving to build a better world. Of course, the serious problem of this, I believe, is in living it day by day. Here I am often discouraged, deeply, but it consoles me to realize that in a long life I have known very few individuals who could be said to have lived really Christian lives. These few have been humble, saintly people, often missionaries, who have given up everything that I consider necessary to my happiness in order to carry the tidings of great joy to all people. But they were so much above the average human being in goodness and sacrifice, so much in the world but not of it, that I could not even hope to follow their example. How can I, just an ordinary woman with a husband and children who have to conform more or less to the man-made rules of business and society, the class to which most of us belong, how can we expect to live full-time Christian lives? The world in which we live is unchristian, continually at war with no conception of the brotherhood of man. Even in our own boasted and beloved democracy, our economic system, in which the profit motive is still the controlling factor, works terrible inequalities and injustices, so that in peacetime 1/3 to 1/2 of our brethren live miserably in slums with insufficient food and clothing, while in wartime, as at present, we spend millions, more than enough to have remedied these evils, in an avowed and supreme effort to destroy our enemies, all of which is a complete repudiation of everything that Jesus lived and died to teach us, and that we earnestly profess to believe. And yet I believe there is hope, great hope, for a better world on this earth, which even I can help in the making, and which will be at least a step toward the heavenly kingdom. This I believe because in the past 50 years of my life I have seen this American world of ours make great progress toward a better way of life, and this has been accomplished not only by our finest, most saintly leaders, but by the stumbling efforts of ordinary men and women of loving goodwill. In my own time, I have seen an awakened social consciousness, a frank acknowledgement by many groups of the inadequacies of our economic system, and unselfish, successful efforts here and there to remedy them. We have made great strides in our public education system, public low-rent housing, general welfare. Even in our recent wars, with all their horrors, we have lost some of the blind hate and intolerance of earlier times, and there is increasing talk of the stupidity and futility of war as a means of solving problems. There are many signs of better racial feeling and of international interest that is not purely commercial. When I see these results of the often feeble efforts of half-hearted people like myself, I who profess and call myself Christian am greatly heartened and proud, very proud, not of what I can accomplish, but of this I believe can and will be accomplished in God's good time.
That was Mrs. Ann Talbot Donaldson of Yonkers, New York, wife, mother, grandmother, who served humanity with a crusading heart.
What's the matter? What is it?
Another case for Nick Carter, master detective.
Yes, it's another case for that most famous of all manhunters, the detective whose ability at solving crime is unequaled in the history of detective fiction, Nick Carter, Master Detective. Tonight's curious adventure,
The Drug Ring Murder, or Nick Carter and the Mystery of the Left-Handed Killer.
Well, Mr. Nicholas Carter, are you going to answer your telephone, or are you going to take me out to lunch, as you promised?
There's no reason why I can't do both, Patsy. Nick Carter speaking.
Nick, this is Riley at headquarters.
Oh, how are you, Lieutenant?
There goes my
It's on your mind.
right.
Murder. And you're right in the middle of it, Nick. Meet me at the city morgue as quick as you can. I'm waiting here.
What's the matter, Riley? Can't headquarters solve this case without me?
Who said anything about your solving the case? You get yourself down to the morgue right away, and that's an order.
An order, Riley? What are you talking about?
The body of a man was washed up on the beach this morning, only he didn't die from drowning. It was murder.
Yes?
There was no identification on the body. None at all. Except one of your business cards. Nick Carter, private detective.
What?
I hid the card in my pocket as soon as I laid eyes on it. But there's a chance one of the reporters saw it before I did. Now, do I have to draw you a diagram?
You've already done it. I'll be there in the double, Riley. Bye.
What's up, Nick?
Plenty. Look, Patsy, hold on the office until you hear from me. I'll call you within an hour.
I knew you shouldn't have answered that phone.
Business before pleasure, Patsy, and right now I've got business at the city morgue. Where have you got him, Riley? On a slab out here?
He's on ice, in the box at the end of the room there. And I'm telling you one thing, Nick Carter. It's lucky for you that I was here when he was brought in.
Now, look, Riley, surely you aren't trying to pull me into this thing just because the fellow was carrying one of my cards. Why, there are probably hundreds of people I never heard of who carry my name in their vest pockets.
Well, if you'd rather be explaining to the captain how your card got on the corpse...
Oh, now take it easy, Riley.
You know what it means for an officer of the law to conceal evidence, Nick. How do I know one of those reporters or photographers isn't telling the captain right now that...
Let's worry about one thing at a time. You said the body was washed up on the beach on the north shore of Long Island?
Yes, it was. Stuffed in a gunny sack with every bit of identification removed. Everything was ripped out except a concealed pocket.
Yes, I know, with my card in it.
Yes. Here we are. Last box here. Now, take a good look, Nick. Yeah, did you ever see him before?
Oh, yes. That's Stanley Phillips.
Huh?
Dr. Stanley Phillips. He's a research chemist. Sort of an eccentric.
Oh, balmy, huh?
No, just strange. He's assisted me in a few investigations. But for the most part, he was pretty much of a hermit. Didn't like to mix with people.
Yeah, that don't make sense. People who mind their own business don't go around getting themselves murdered. Where did he live?
There's a big house on a Long Island Sound, but his laboratory was in his yacht. It was anchored about half a mile or so up from the house, if I remember correctly.
Laboratory on a yacht?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he was balmy.
Hey, Riley, look. Here in his neck.
Oh, what did you expect? I told you he was strangled. The autopsy showed he was dead before he was put into the gunny sack and thrown into the water.
I know, but that isn't what I mean. Here, look at the prints in his neck. Closely, look at him.
Yeah, well...
Lest I miss my guess, Riley, he was murdered by a left-handed killer.
Say, maybe you've got something there, Nick. I'll phone the fingerprint expert.
Now, wait a minute, Riley. Let me hit the phone first. I gotta be on my way.
Hey, now, don't be forgetting you can't take long on this, Nick. The captain will be wanting to question you about your card being found on the body. I can't hold off more than a few hours.
Give me those few hours, Riley, and I'll wrap the murderer up in wax paper.
Nicholas Carter's office.
Oh, hello, Patsy. We got work to do.
Yes, Nick?
I want you to go through the files and dig out all the stuff we have on Dr. Stanley Phillips.
That queer duck who did some work for you once?
Yeah, that's the one. Research chemist. Get all the dope on him and meet me down in front of the office in 10 minutes. I'll pick you up.
All right, Nick.
That's all.
Yeah, where are you headed for, Nick?
The Phillips estate on Long Island Sound. Meet me there as soon as you get the report on the fingerprints in Stanley Phillips' neck.
And apparently neither he nor his sister ever married. After the parents died, they continued to live in the big manor house.
What did you say the sister's name was?
Rose Phillips.
Rose. Go on.
You know all about his laboratory being on his yacht.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be one of the best private laboratories in the country. Used to do a lot of research work for big companies. As a laboratory assistant, Tom Marks, young man. And let's see what else. His hobby was writing. Scientific articles they were. Usually about the effects of habit-forming drugs. He had an article in Popular Research last month entitled Morphine Exposed.
So he wrote about habit-forming drugs, huh? You know, Patsy, this case might turn out to be more than just an ordinary murder.
I guess nobody's home, Nick.
You're wrong about that, Patsy. Saw the curtains at the window move. Frowning in the door isn't going to do any good either. Whoever's in there evidently doesn't want callers today. However...
What are you going to do?
Open the door. This little lock picker of mine. There it is. All right, come on, Patsy. We're going in.
I don't see anybody.
Stay behind me.
Put your hands up. Over your head.
She's got a gun, Nick.
You're Rose Phillips, I take it, miss?
Keep your hands up. I'm asking the questions. Who are you?
I'm Nick Carter, and this
Nick Carter?
Yes. And this is my assistant, Patsy Bowen.
Nick Carter, the great detective, where my brother often speaks of you. He thinks you're wonderful.
Nick, she doesn't know yet.
Miss Phillips, I'm sorry to have to tell you like this, but your brother is dead.
He's dead?
Yes. I'm afraid he was murdered.
Murdered. Stanley murdered.
Now, if you'll just put that gun away, Miss Phillips, we'll talk things over.
Good, Mr. Carter. I'm sorry. This is all such a shock.
It was a fiendish killing, and I'm going to do all I can to bring the criminal to justice. You may be sure of that.
Oh, Rose. Rose.
I'm in here, Richard.
Oh. Well, who are these people? I thought Stanley told you never to let strangers in the house.
It's all right, Richard. This is Nick Carter, the detective, and his assistant.
Oh. Well, that's different. How do you do, Mr. Carter? I'm Richard Coles.
I take it you've already heard about Dr. Phillips.
Yes. Ghastly, isn't it? I can hardly believe it. The police say it was murder. For the life of me, I can't imagine who would want to murder Stanley. He was a strange man, Mr. Carter, very strange. He had a phobia about not letting anyone in the house when he was away.
You seem to manage an entrance all right, Mr. Coles.
Well,
Mr. Cole's a very old friend of the family and has always had a key to the house. He's our lawyer.
Look out, Nick! There's someone at the window. He's got a gun! I can't get over it, Nick. You don't seem to be surprised that you were shot at back there in the house.
I'm not, Patsy. That's why I was standing beside that suit of armor. That protected me by deflecting the bullets.
Nick, your presence on the Phillips case is most annoying to someone.
Too bad that window was frosted glass. Couldn't get a look at the gunman. That tiny crack the window was open. Well, now, did you find what I told you to look for in the cottage occupied by Tom Marks, the lab assistant?
Yes, I found a pair of his gloves.
Good.
Had to go through all his desk drawers to find them, too.
Let me see them. All seems to be adding up. Almost too neatly.
Adds up to a pair of gloves, that's all.
Look, Patsy. Coles told me back there something about the terms of Phillips' will. If he lived to be 50, his estate was to go to a foundation. If he died before that, Rose was to inherit all the estate.
But that makes Rose...
No. I don't suspect Rose. Her grief seemed genuine. But there's something else I learned. Tom Marks, Phillips' lab assistant's in love with Rose. They've been wanting to get married, but Phillips opposed the marriage.
Now the field is clear. We'll lose the money to boot. But that still doesn't make Tom Marks...
Patsy, I'm almost certain Phillips was strangled by a left-handed killer. These gloves of Marks you brought me show that he's left-handed.
Oh. And that leads us where?
Right out to the laboratory and the yacht. I've got to find Tom Marks.
Nick, why in the world do you suppose Dr. Phillips had his laboratory way out here in the middle of the Sound?
There's no mystery to that one, Patsy. Told me why once.
Well, why?
So people couldn't bother him. I'd have used his technical knowledge a lot more often on cases myself if it'd been more accessible. Well, here we are. This is the Phillips yacht. I'll tie up here.
I've never climbed up a rope ladder before.
And you're not going up now either. Not until I look around the boat myself.
Oh, Nick, am I helping you on this case or not?
You are, but I don't want you taking unnecessary chances.
Nick, please.
Now, quiet a minute, Patsy. Let's see if we can raise somebody from here.
Hello up there. Hello aboard the Phillips yacht.
It's funny.
Tom Marks is aboard. He's keeping quiet about it.
Well, we'll find out right now. You better stay here in the motorboat.
And let you solve this case alone? Not a chance.
Okay. But stay directly behind me, remember?
Phew. Climbing this rope ladder's no cinch. I'm glad I'm not a sailor.
Can you make it?
I'm coming. What do you think you'll find, Nick?
Tom Marks, I hope. Here. Let me give you a hand over the rail. All right. Up, sit, Daisy.
Oh, Hank. Well, There's nobody to lay out the welcome rug on the deck of this floating laboratory.
Well, that doesn't mean we're alone, Patsy. Come on. We're going down this companionway.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, it leads to Phillips' laboratory. Mm-hmm. This is the laboratory. All right, Patsy, stay behind me. I'm going to open the door. Hey, Marks. Tom Marks, you in there? All right, Patsy. We can go in.
Tom Marks seems to have vanished, but he's certainly left a mess behind him.
Yes. Overturned retorts. Bunsen burner knocked over. Look here on the floor.
Broken bottle.
Sulfuric acid spilled and eating into the floor. Yes, this is where Dr. Stanley Phillips met his death, all right. And when the killer came at him, he was sitting at this desk writing.
Well, how do you figure that?
That bottle of ink tipped over. Wonder if he has any papers here that'll tell us what we want to know. No. Desk's been rifled. Everything of any value has already been taken.
It still all adds up to Tom Marks, doesn't it?
Yeah, seems to. We'll know for sure as soon as Riley gets the report from the fingerprint expert.
Nick. Nick, come here. Look what I found in the sink.
What?
This piece of paper.
Let's see. Now, that's in Dr. Phillips' handwriting.
Somebody tried to burn it out. Then they threw it on the drain board of the sink here. Part of it didn't burn.
Let's see if I can figure it out. Like you to know, the man whom I have trusted and worked with these many years is, I have discovered, the head of a giant dope peddling ring. Been using my premises to carry on his business. This man is...
Nick, the lights have gone off! Oh.
Patsy. Patsy, where are you? Patsy.
Nick.
You all right, Patsy?
My head. Somebody hit me.
Stay where you are till I find the switch.
Do you have your flashlight?
Yeah, I'll find the switch in just a second. Oh, the lights won't work. They must have been turned off at the master switch in the engine room. And that means there's more than one person on this boat besides us. One of them turned off the lights, and the other one shot at us in here.
You were right when you said you felt everything wasn't okay on this yacht.
You able to get up, Patsy?
Oh, sure. I'm all right now. Just a big hen's egg on my head, that's all.
Okay. Come on.
Nick, did they take the note?
That's what I want to find out. Let's see.
Flash a light down in the sink.
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah, but wait.
What are you going to do?
Clean up the sink a little. Ashes don't look well scattered around in a white sink. Carefully now. A little bit. There we are. And now we're ready.
Ready for what?
To search this yacht from stem to stern.
What in blazes has been keeping you, Nick? I've been cooling my heels on this dock for the past half hour here.
I hope you'd be here, Riley.
Hello, Lieutenant.
Hello, Patsy. Well, say, you look as if you'd seen a ghost on that yacht.
I did.
Somebody took a shot at us in the dock.
What?
Patsy got knocked down the fracas and got a nasty bump in her head.
Say, who did it, Nick?
Whoever it was made a neat getaway. Patsy and I searched the ship afterwards from end to end, but didn't find a soul.
Did you see anybody coming in from the yacht, Lieutenant?
Nary a soul's come in off that boat since I've been here. In fact, the only two people who've been near here was two fishermen.
Are you sure they were fishermen?
Am I sure? Now, look, Nick, don't be giving me that. It was bona fide fishermen, all right. They pulled their little rowboat to shore a ways down the beach, and I saw them bring in their catch. And a nice string of fish it was.
Okay, Riley. So they were really fishermen.
Well, what about your report, Lieutenant?
That. Well, Nick was right. Our fingerprint expert examined the marks on Dr. Phillips' neck and said he was undoubtedly strangled by a left-handed killer. And now all we've got to do is find a left-handed man who had a reason to murder the doctor.
We found him.
What's that?
Dr. Phillips' laboratory assistant, Tom Marks, is left-handed.
Say, you sure worked fast, Nick. And it's a good thing, too. The captain found out about your card being found on the body. Hey, what kind of a scoundrel is this Tom Marks?
I don't know. Haven't seen him yet. Wasn't at his cottage, and he wasn't in the lab on the yacht.
Now, let's make tracks, Mr. Private Detective, and search the grounds here.
Wait a minute, Riley, wait a minute. There's one thing more you ought to know.
Huh?
Whoever killed Dr. Stanley Phillips is the head of a giant dope ring. Phillips was killed because he was about to expose the man.
Hey, that would be the laboratory assistant. He'd have access to drugs.
Mr. Carter! Mr. Carter!
Who in tarnation is that?
Richard Coles, close friend of the Phillips and also the lawyer. O'Reilly.
Yeah?
Put this envelope in your pocket. Careful of it. It's a piece of evidence I picked up in the boat.
Okay, Nick.
Mr. Carter, I've been hunting everywhere for you.
Oh, Mr. Coles, this is Lieutenant Riley from headquarters.
Oh, I'm glad you're here, Lieutenant. We're up against a dangerous criminal.
Don't worry, Mr. Coles. The law always gets its man.
What'd you want to see me about, Mr. Coles?
Rose Phillips. She's gone.
Gone?
How do you know?
Come up to the house with me. I'll show you. Something has happened to her, I'm sure. Hurry. Here. This is Rose's bedroom, Lieutenant.
Well, somebody was making a fast getaway, all right.
Yes. Just look at the room. Clothes strewn all over. One of her suitcases is gone, and this suitcase, half packed, was left behind.
She and the laboratory assistant must have been in on this together. If she wasn't guilty, she wouldn't have run away.
Oh, she must have been out of her mind. Of course, Rose was in love with Tom, and...
Nick,
What's the matter, Patsy? What are you frowning at?
Rose Phillips didn't run away.
What, didn't run away?
What are you saying, Patsy?
No girl would run away voluntarily and leave all her makeup behind. Well, look at that dressing table. Nothing's been touched.
You're right, Patsy.
Say, do you suppose... Oh, no.
What is it, Mr. Coles?
Do you suppose that Tom could have forced her to leave?
You mean kidnap her?
Yes.
Well, he won't get away with it. I'll call headquarters and have a cordon thrown around this entire district. We'll catch Tom Marks before he gets to the next town.
Good idea, Riley. Do that. Well, Mr. Coles?
Yes, Mr. Carter.
I guess Lieutenant Riley has this case all sewed up. His men will have Tom Marks and Rose Phillips within the hour.
Well, Mr. Carter, it was nice of you to take such an interest in my friend's death. Would you care for a cigarette?
Oh, no, thanks.
You, Lieutenant?
Why, sure. I don't mind if I do.
Of course. Light?
Yeah, thanks.
Well, good day, Mr. Coles.
Goodbye.
Carter.
Come along, Patsy.
Hey, where's the telephone, Mr. Coles?
There's one right over here on the table.
Hurry up, Patsy. We got work to do.
I thought you said the case was finished.
Not by a long shot. I said that for their benefit. You and I are going over this estate with a fine-tooth comb. I'm not satisfied yet.
You see anything, Nick?
Come on in. Shut the door.
Do you think anyone saw us headed for this boathouse?
I hope not. Oh, be careful here. Don't step off in the water.
Nick, there's a small speedboat in the water. Wouldn't you think they put it in dry dock so late in the season?
Depends, Patsy. Look up there, mounted on the bow.
A machine gun?
Mm-hmm. This boat was used for business.
Gee, who'd ever think a quiet little chemist like Dr. Phillips kept a mounted machine gun on a speedboat?
I believe this setup down here was news to Dr. Phillips, too. Hold on to my arm. We'll look around.
Oh, Nick, don't step on the fish.
String of fish, huh? Well,
Nick, those fishermen Riley saw must have come in here.
Patsy, this catch isn't fresh.
What?
Those men used this string of dead fish just to fool Riley. And those were the men who made trouble for us on the yacht.
Yeah, they must have been. Well, there's plenty of life preservers stacked up in here.
Yeah, that's strange. Here, Patsy, take the flashlight and play it on this one.
Okay. Well, what are you doing, taking it to pieces?
No, just examining it. Aha! There we have it.
What?
A small waterproof pocket's been sewn in here. Yes, and it extends all the way around inside this life preserver. Pretty clever. Look, Patsy.
What is it?
These secret compartments are filled with dope. I bet every one of these life preservers is filled with drugs.
Nobody would ever think of looking in a life preserver for evidence.
I think Dr. Phillips did. And that's why he was murdered.
Nick.
Are you okay, Patsy?
Yes, but I can't stop crying.
Well, that's not surprising. Somebody threw a tear gas bomb through the window.
Oh.
That's right, friends. It was tear gas.
Who's there?
Pretty clever of me using the tools of my trade that way, isn't it, Mr. Carter? But Tom Marks is always clever.
So you're Tom Marks, huh? I've been waiting to set my eyes on you.
It's too bad your eyes are filled with tear gas, because now you'll never have that pleasure. Okay, Pete, Come in and get the lady.
Right.
I'll take care of Mr. Carter myself.
Come on. Come on. Get afternoon.
Let her go alone. Here, let her go alone.
You got those iron weights in the bag, Pete?
Sure, both of them. This guy'll never be washed up on the beach like the doc was.
Good. See you tied a bag good and tight.
You know, I think he's passed out. He ain't moving none.
I did a job on him before we put him in the bag.
Listen to that dame, will you? Sounds like a hoot owl with a cold in the head. Shut up.
Oh, tighten the gag, Pete.
Okay.
That'll do it.
Hey. Say, Carter ain't dead.
What does it take to kill that guy? I choked him like a rat and he's still talking. All right. Speak your piece, Mr. Carter, because you don't have much longer.
You're not going to get away with this.
You hear what he said?
I'm telling you.
I doubt it, Mr. Carter. You're going straight down to Davy Jones' locker.
You'll pay for this. I'll have you behind bars within 24 hours.
Listen to him.
What do you fellas think you're going to do with Patsy Bowen?
He's worrying about a dame when he's going to lose his own neck.
Go easy with her, I'm warning you.
Come on, let's get rid of him.
Okay.
It's dark enough now. All right. You got him? Yes. All right. Lift him up. That's it.
I'll get you fellas for this.
2, 3. Let her go.
I came as soon as I got your flashlight signal from the shore, Nick. You think the criminals are aboard the yacht here now?
You'll see in a minute. The laboratory's right down this companionway.
Hey, you're dripping wet from head to foot, Nick. What happened?
They tried to pull the same trick on Nick that they pulled on Dr. Phillips. Only it didn't work, because Nick can expand his neck and wrist muscles.
Yes, I had my hands free before I hit the water. There was no trick at all to cut my way out of the sack. And then I clung to the back of their motorboat until it reached the yacht here. I waited for the would-be killers to get aboard, untied Patsy, and here we are.
You're lucky, Nick.
He's smart, that's all.
Quiet. This is the door. Keep your gun ready.
Right.
Good evening, Mr. Coles.
What? Oh, Nick Carter. Well, come in, Mr. Carter. These two friends of mine and myself were just discussing whether you had found the criminals.
I think we have, Mr. Coles.
Good.
There's just one thing more I need to make sure I have the criminals. Riley.
Yeah?
Give me that envelope I asked you to keep for me.
Oh, sure, Nick. Here you are.
Thanks. Now, I'll just take the piece of burned paper out of this envelope.
Are those the pieces you gathered from the drain board?
Yes, Patsy. They were from the note Stanley Phillips wrote just before he was murdered. Now, I'll just use some of these chemicals in the burned paper. You see, gentlemen, even though this piece of paper's been burned, it is possible, by using the correct chemical solution, to bring out the writing that was on the paper before it was burned. In this case, I expect the writing will give the name of the man Phillips designated as head of the giant drug ring. And his killer.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yes, here it comes. The chemicals are beginning to act. The writing is beginning to show up. Good. The name is...
Nick, look out!
And I got these two thugs, Nick. Knocked him out cold.
Sorry I had to plug in the shoulder, Coles, but I had to put you out of action. Now, Riley, there's your murderer.
So it was Coles who did it.
You're right, Carter. I killed him.
The powers be praised, Nick. I thought Tom Marks was the killer.
Coles had me fooled too, Riley, until this afternoon when he came running down from the house. And then I noticed his feet were wet, as if he'd been in waiting.
Then he was one of the men on the yacht. One of the fishermen Riley saw.
Right, Patsy. And another thing. The man who strangled me in the boathouse claimed to be Tom Marks. But Tom Marks is left-handed. The man who tried to strangle me used his right hand.
And you knew Phillips was murdered by a left-handed man.
That's right. I knew I was after a left-handed murderer. O'Reilly.
Huh?
Did you notice that when Coles lighted your cigarette for you this afternoon in Rose's room, he used his left hand?
By golly, he did. Then he's left-handed, too.
Right. When I saw him do that, I knew he was the killer. But I had to make him prove it.
Oh, you did that all right. That business about making the writing stand out on a piece of paper after it's burned is a new one to me, Nick.
Nick, can you actually do that?
Well, it can be done under ideal conditions. But this time I was just putting on an act for Mr. Coles' benefit.
You mean you didn't actually make any writing appear on the burned paper?
Not a word, Mr. Coles.
And I fell for it like a sap.
Nick, What's that?
Well, I'm not sure, Patsy, but I have a hunch.
It's locked, Nick.
Oh, Patsy, since when did a locked door ever stop Nick Carter?
Quite right, Riley. When did it? This is no time for it to start. So, this one ought to do the trick. There we are.
Nick Carter. Oh, thank heaven. Rose.
This man with you is Tom Marks, Miss Phillips?
Yes, I am.
They were going to kill us, Mr. Carter. They tied us up and threw us in here. We heard them planning to throw us overboard.
Have you been imprisoned in here all this time, Mr. Marks?
No, not quite. I got a telephone call last night summoning me into the city to pick up some chemicals Dr. Phillips and I needed in an experiment. I was slugged as I stepped out of the car. And when I came too late this afternoon, I was in here, and so was Rose.
That Coles was a smart one. Throwing suspicion on you and then trying to get rid of you in order to make it look as if you'd run away.
Smart, but not smart enough for Nick.
Well, Riley, you've got your murderer.
I have that.
And Rose, you and Tom are safe.
Yes, thanks to you.
And I guess that's that.
Oh, no, Nick. You still have to solve my case.
Well, what's that, Patsy?
That luncheon date you promised me.
Oh.
Where are you and I going to have lunch at this hour?
Why, say, that's easy, Patsy. I know a swell place in town, right across from the morgue. Come on.
This was another strange experience of Nick Carter, Master Detective, called The Drug Ring Murder, or Nick Carter and the Mystery of the Left-Handed Killer. Another of the curious adventures of Nick Carter, which are brought to you regularly at this same time by WOR Mutual. And now, Nick, what can you tell us about next week's story?
When a young man who was a very good friend of mine arrived in town to claim his bride, he suddenly became aware that she was not the girl to whom he'd become engaged.
You mean she wasn't his fiancée?
That was the question that started off the whole case.
Yes, indeed. Because we couldn't be sure whether the girl he loved was really the girl he loved, we prevented 2 murders and saved a gigantic fortune from disappearing.
But you didn't save me from disappearing, Nick.
Oh, quite true, Patsy, but after all, you weren't gone very long before we found you.
But I'm sure glad you found me when you did, or I might not be here now. So long, folks. Get the rest of the story next week.
Right. So long.
And so long to you, Nick and Patsy. In the strange adventure you have just heard, Nick Carter was impersonated by Lon Clark, Patsy by Helen Choate. The story was written for Nick Carter by Barth Conry. Original music was played by Lou White. The entire production was under the direction of Jock McGregor. Next week at the same time, listen to another curious experience of Nick Carter entitled
The Substitute Bride, or Nick Carter and the Mystery of the Night Ferry.
This story is a copyrighted feature of Street and Smith Publications, Incorporated. The Return of Nick Carter is produced in the studios of WOR and is broadcast over most of these stations every Wednesday evening at 8:30 Eastern War Time. This is Mutual.
This, I believe. The process of man's maturing is slow. Sometimes we are so sensitive about our own deficiencies that we deny progress when we are confronted with it in our own children. That explains, in part perhaps, why so-called adults perennially despair the fate of the younger generation. Yet, as always, hope for this tired old world springs from the fresh, resilient ambitions of its irrepressible youth. When we started these broadcasts, friendly critics warned us away from the college crowd. Their reactions will be either too cynical, we were told, or too immature to reveal any beliefs. Stubbornly, we went ahead. One of the results follows. A statement by a student at Bryn Mawr named Ann Aristoff, a native-born New Yorker whose father, an engineer, fled to America after World War I from the Soviet state of Georgia because he opposed the views of another Georgian named Stalin. Here is Ann Aristoff's creed.
Within the last year or so, I have overhauled, as it were, all the beliefs that were taught to me as I have grown up so far, and in the process have changed and discarded many. I have grown away from the concept of a jealous, anthropomorphic God who demands worship and ceremonial attention. A God such as this seems to me too small, too much like ourselves, too understandable. The power behind our universe and the other systems, in a space so great that we cannot even conceive of it, must be correspondingly beyond my present ability to comprehend. I have come to feel that my motive in leading a good life on earth should not be the fear of hell or bribe of heaven in an afterlife. This idea seems to me both self-defeating and self-centered. What to establish in the place of these old beliefs is still very vague and tentative. At present, though, I think I can honestly say that I believe in a greater-than-human force within the universe. However, I do not see any necessity for defining this force, or for letting it occupy all my thoughts and energies. I believe that rather than building a vast superstructure of religious doctrine based on the unknown hereafter and elsewhere, to cover my ignorance of these things, the emphasis of my life should be directed towards making the most of my known existence on this earth. I believe that goodness and truth and beauty are basic elements of the supernatural power, and constitute the surest force for happiness and peace within our grasp. For me, the greatest incentive and inspiration towards these things comes from seeing the beauty and deep, quiet harmony of the natural world. The realization that such awesome beauty and fundamental rightness do exist renews in me a measure of hope and confidence in a brighter future. I believe that everyone has in himself a capacity for goodness, truth, and beauty, and it is in struggling to develop these gifts most fully that we grow most as individuals, and consequently can give most as fellow human beings. Fulfillment in one's own life, both on the outward level and on the inner personal and spiritual level, can best be gained, and perhaps only be gained, through a mutual exchange of respect, compassion, and trust. I believe that the person who fashions his life around a desire to attune himself most sensitively to the good qualities in his fellows will find himself on the path to harmony with whatever the central force is from which these qualities are derived. Perhaps the realization of the insecurity, confusion, and tension of the years just past and in prospect have influenced my decisions a good deal. Thousands of years of concentrating on the unknown do not seem to have benefited our world much. At the same time, the knowledge that science has brought us of sources of incredible and wonderful power proves that this could be a good, happy world if only man would fulfill his best role in it.
There, the philosophy of a college sophomore, Anne Aristoff of Bryn Mawr, who looks at the future with a clear and eager eye, not unmindful of the human weakness which have made the past and the present so imperfect. Tomorrow, we suspect, belongs to such hopeful people as this young girl.
Night Beat.
Hi, this is Randy Stone. I cover the night beat for the Chicago Star. The stories I run into start in a million different ways. This one began with a gun in my face and ended with the number 13.
Night Beat, starring Frank Lovejoy as Randy Stone.
It's night again in Chicago, and that's when I start out looking for a story that'll make you say, it takes all kinds to make a world. Yeah, it sure does. One by one I pass them. That girl over there with her hair held tightly in place by a scarf. Each carefully marceled wave a hopeful assurance that she'll end up looking like somebody in a movie magazine. Or that beaten old man picking a crumbled, soiled newspaper out of a rubbish can. Why does he want a paper? He knows tomorrow will be the same for him no matter what happens in France or England or just around the corner. So tonight, I found myself in a quiet section of the residential district. I wondered what was behind the lighted squares of glass and what went on. Who were those people and what were their problems? I kept going and I walked into...
I beg your pardon.
Oh, yes?
I hesitate to bother you, sir, but do you have a match?
Have a lighter, will that do?
Thank you.
There you are.
Oh, just a moment.
Yeah.
I am afraid I didn't get a light after all.
What's the matter, Pop? Afraid to ask me for the touch? Here.
Please, put your hands up.
What?
I'm not joking. I have a gun.
Oh, I see it.
Put your hands up.
Okay. Like this?
I warn you, I'll shoot if you try anything.
Well, rule number 1 when facing a stick-up man who's obviously pulling his first job, be very careful.
It's not my first.
Oh, a hardened old offender.
Hand me your wallet.
What, with my hands in the air?
Put them down, but remember what I said now.
Sure. Why is a nice-looking old man like you doing this?
Stop talking and hand me your wallet.
All right. Here.
Now turn around. Face the wall. And don't try to follow me.
Pop, hand me the gun and tell me all about it.
Don't come talk me.
The gun, Pop. Now hand it over. We'll have a talk. Maybe over a cup of coffee.
Stay away, I said.
I should have had better sense. A novice at a stick-up is like a kid with the Einstein theory. He doesn't know what it's all about, and he shoots out of sheer fright and nervousness. That sharp, searing pain across my temple before I blacked out told me a bullet had creased my skull. That's all I remembered until I woke up in a precinct police station.
Well, coming out of it, huh, Stone?
Oh, my head, Kalski, did you get him?
Nope. Ground car picked you up. Somebody reported a shot.
Oh, and you brought me here.
Want to try sitting up?
Oh, sure. No. How close was it?
Quarter of an inch from pay dirt, I'd say.
Kalski, you are now looking at a prize boob.
Oh?
Oh, yes. I tried to take a gun away from a stick-up man.
You ought to have better sense.
But this was different. I don't think he ever did it before.
I has to start sometime.
Yeah, but he, want a description?
That's what I'm waiting for, Randy.
Man about 70.
70?
70.
Oh, with a long white beard.
Kalski, the man, was about 70. A little over 5.5 feet.
Sure. Name of Rip Van Winkle?
For all I know, it might be. When you find him, he'll have my wallet on him. Oh, and Kalski.
Yeah?
He's nervous enough to take a shot at anybody. Next time, you might be able to hold a gun a little steadier and on target. So, 10 minutes later, I left the precinct station. Kalski put out a call for the little old man who made like Jesse James. I went back to my desk at the Star. Maybe I had a story. I wanted to wait until the police picked up the old man because whatever made him turn bandit was a story. An hour passed, and I was just about getting ready to give up.
Oh, hi, Mr. Stone.
Oh, hello, Larry.
I didn't come in this time of night. You're almost always out.
Larry, you don't know how close I was to that permanently.
Hurt your head?
Yeah.
How?
Well, I was wearing my hat with a feather in the band.
Huh?
Yes, I got mixed up in a badminton game.
I don't get it.
Well, you work on it, kid. I'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, I get it. Feather, badminton.
A for effort, Larry.
Oh, hey, I almost forgot.
What?
Here's a package for you.
For me? What is it?
I don't know. Open it up and see.
That's working them out, kid. Where did you get this?
Hey, that's a wallet with some dough in it.
It's mine. I said, where'd you get this?
Dane gave it to him.
Where is she?
Left, I guess.
By the elevator?
I guess so. Leastways, she was waiting for it when I...
You sure it wasn't a man?
I'm old enough to tell the difference.
Oh, I stand here chewing the phone.
Hey, what's going on? Hey, Mr. Stone.
Larry, stay by the phone. Take down anything that comes in. The woman who brought back my wallet had 8 floors to go down on that slow night elevator. I had a chance to beat her to the lobby, so I took the stairs 5 at a time. And then I was in the lobby, but the elevator had beaten me down. I ran over to the night man.
Well, hello there, Mr. Stone.
How are you?
You didn't come down in the elevator?
Yeah, how long you been down here?
Oh, just a couple of seconds.
A woman ride down with you?
Yeah, from your floor.
She go outside?
Yeah. Hey, something wrong?
Come on with me, will you?
Why all the fuss?
Would you recognize the woman if you saw her again?
Oh, I guess so.
Now, take a look both ways. Tell me if you see her.
Had on a little hat, old lady, too.
Old? How old?
60, 65, thereabouts.
You see her?
Ain't sure, but I think that's her at the bus stop.
Which side of the street?
Other side, next block.
Okay, thanks. See you later. Maybe it was she, maybe it wasn't. I hurried across the street just as a bus pulled up and took on a passenger. A little old lady wearing a little hat. I reached the stop as the bus was pulling away.
Hey, you always stick your head in front of buses like that, Buster?
Yeah, I get results in rides that way.
Yeah.
There were other vacant seats in the bus, but the one I wanted was next to a little old lady. A little old lady whose eyes were red, as though she'd been having a real good old-fashioned cry. She didn't even notice me sit down on the seat beside her. For a moment, I just sat and watched her frail, blue-veined hands pulling on a wet handkerchief and sobbing. There's something wrong, lady.
No, I'm all right.
Thanks for returning my wallet. There's $10 missing.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know anything about your wallet.
You know, be easy to check that. We get off, we take a bus back to the Star Building. There's a night man and an office boy who saw it.
This is my stop.
2 blocks from the paper? That's a short ride. Now, look, I don't know what this is all about, but I'm willing to learn. Now, you can either tell me here or we can go somewhere else.
Can't you forget it, please?
Forget it. I could have been killed.
I know, but he didn't mean it.
Who was he, or who is he?
He's my husband.
Oh. Well, do you want to talk about it?
If I tell you why he did it, will you help him?
Look, let's get off this bus. We'll take a cab to... Well, where?
I want to go home.
All right, I'll take you home. But something tells me I'm sticking my neck out.
Down, Mr. Stone.
No, not right away. Is your husband here?
No.
All right, let's have the truth, Mrs. Benson. Why did your husband hold me up?
It was the only way he could get the money tonight.
Well, why tonight?
We need $200 by tomorrow morning.
Oh? And why return my wallet to me with over $50 in it? Why didn't he keep it all?
He needed just enough to...
Enough for what, Mrs. Benson?
I want to show you something. Then you'll understand. Here. Look at these.
Now, what are these?
Look at them.
Yes, I'm looking. Well, what do they mean? Figures, problems, pages of them, notebooks filled with...
His system for winning at roulette.
Winning it? Oh, no.
For the last 10 years, he's done nothing but work on it.
Well, there's always one of those, the big brain who can sit down and beat the little numbers that go around.
Oh, please.
Does he have any idea how many of these systems have put period to a lot of rosy dreams?
He believes in it.
Yeah, they all do.
Harry's no fool. He's a brilliant man, Mr. Stone. He was a professor of mathematics.
Was?
Yes. But they said he was too old, retired him.
No other jobs?
Nobody wanted a mathematician or a man almost 70.
Yeah, but this gambling, he should know better. The odds are never with the player, only with the house.
At first it was just a hobby. He liked to work out the odds, and then when things got desperate...
Yes, and now?
We have the cent.
And tonight he's going to play his big system. Where?
I don't know. I told you, I don't know.
Did he take the gun?
No, he left it here.
Well, that's one good thing anyway.
What will you do now?
I don't know.
And the police?
They're looking for him already.
Oh, get to him first, Mr. Stone.
Why?
He won't let himself be arrested like a thief. That's the last thing he said. He wouldn't let the police arrest him.
You are listening to Night Beat, starring Frank Lovejoy as Randy Stone.
So there I had it, a little old ex-professor of mathematics with another system for beating an unbeatable game. There's something in each of us that makes every individual believe he's different. The I can do better philosophy is human. If it weren't, we wouldn't have the Brooklyn Bridge, the better mousetrap, or the fellow who blinks his eyes in bewilderment and says, I thought I had it all figured out. Okay, I decided to go after Professor Benson. I headed for a spot where I thought I might pick up some information.
What's in your mind, Stone? I said you wanted to see me.
Just for a minute, Cully.
Okay, what?
How's the game going?
Win a little, I lose a little. You want in?
No, not tonight. Tell the truth, Cully, I'm looking for a bigger layout.
Blue chips here are 500. How big can you get?
Oh, some. But this is a private poker party.
Yeah, I wouldn't want news of it to get around.
Oh, don't worry, Tully. I did you a favor.
Now, remember, give me a break in your paper. Okay, what do you want?
I want to know where there's a roulette layout.
Don't know?
You get around.
Some, but I don't talk about it.
Just this once, Cully.
Why?
I'm looking for somebody who might be playing.
Why?
I gotta find it.
Why?
Oh, Cully, you're repeating yourself.
Anything else? Maybe I'd do you a favor. This? No. Besides, I don't think there's a wheel in town.
I think there is.
Okay, you think. Now, so long, sir.
All right.
Oh, before you go...
Yeah.
If I were you, I'd make this the last stop. You ask funny questions, and you might not get such funny answers.
It was the same in the other three places. And after hitting each one, I checked with the police, but Professor Benson seemed to have got himself swallowed up somewhere in the 1,000 square miles of Chicago. And then I was on my way again, trying to remember all the likely places until...
Hi. Mind if I walk with you?
Now, what if I did?
Oh, I'd walk anyway. I need exercise. My doctor says so. Hey, you got a doctor?
Yeah. What's your problem?
Oh, not much you couldn't clean up, Stone.
Oh, you know me, hmm?
Sure. Everybody knows Randy Stone. You're real famous, like. You're getting even more famous tonight.
What's the answer to that?
You've been around a few places.
And that's illegal?
No. But it's silly.
Okay, so I'm silly. So long. Glad to meet you.
Hey, not so fast, Stone. We got to talk.
On what subject?
Money. That suit you?
All right. Get rid of it. What have you got to say?
Look, Stone, everybody wants peace and quiet. The whole world's in a mix-up because one guy don't agree with the other guy, right?
Oh, my. Another big thinker with brass knuckles.
Yeah. Now, like I say, everybody wants peace and quiet. But there's a lot of guys have to make a living in a funny way.
Why don't you get to the point?
Sure. Now, take you, for instance, for example, huh? Your boss says, Stone, go out and see how many gambling joints are buzzing. So you, being a nice, hard worker, you
Nobody
go out...
sent me out for that.
Okay, so nobody sends. But somebody sends me.
So what about it?
Nothing. Only everybody likes to see everybody else happy. Maybe this could do it for you.
How much is that?
$1,000.
I'm stirring up a lot of muddy water, huh?
Yeah. You've been to 3-4 places. And to the cops.
Not for what you think.
I ain't paid to think, only to carry out orders. This is one. Want the dough?
Listen, only look
Yeah. Looking for somebody. Cut it out.
I'm telling the truth.
I'm telling the truth, too. Stone, put your nose in one more place where they don't like stuck-in noses. And somebody will push it right to the back of your head.
Sometime, somewhere, somebody said there's nothing like a quiet fireside, complete with pipe and slippers. But can you make a career out of it? For that matter, can you make a career out of a hold-up, a creased skull, and a nasty little hoodlum? Well, I was trying to. And just to find an ex-professor who had a very common disease, I can't lose-itis. Okay, I'd try 1 or 2 more places, and then I'd quit. I got the same answers. And by this time, the name of Randy Stone was enough to close more doors than a quarantine sign. I was asking for it, and I got it.
Stone.
Huh?
Here I am again.
Oh, yes, I see. Okay, you win. Let's forget the whole thing.
Just like that, huh? Over here, you guys. You brought some friends.
I said you win. Let's forget it.
Yeah, you was told. You didn't pay attention.
Here's your head, fella. Beat me up, and every newspaper in town will get the story. They'll really split things open.
I got orders.
Oh, forget him. Go back and tell the guy.
I got orders. Besides, you ought to be a good example to any other cookie who thinks he's a one-man vice squad. You guys close it.
Now, listen to me. I'm not out to set up a knockover for anything. I'm hunting for someone.
Don't go through that again.
It's the truth.
Max, start the ball rolling.
You're an idiot.
To think you could have had $1,000 instead of this. Hey, now your nose looks much better.
A professional working over is done with finesse. It's meant to stop just short of murder, but leave a nasty memory. When I came to, I was propped against a building in the alley, and the world at that moment was a bad place. And I was mad, and my anger was for the little professor with his system. Now I really wanted to find him and turn him over to the police. But I couldn't find him the way I'd started out. No one to talk, no one except perhaps one person. One of those strange, pathetic creatures known as a stoolie. I cleaned myself up in the nearest washroom, grabbed a cab, and went to see him at a dirty, shabby rooming house. He was there.
Look, Randy, you got yourself worked over already. What do you want from me, huh?
Just a little information, Gus.
Yeah, I know. Nobody comes to me except for that. Someday I'm going to buy a chicken farm and get out of this business.
Yeah, now listen, you know everything that goes on in this town, within limitations.
Yeah, I know plenty. But not everything.
Well, most of it. I want you to find out something for me.
Yeah?
There's a roulette wheel somewhere.
I don't know nothing.
Oh, come on, Gus, come on.
Randy, sir, help me. Hope to kiss a pig. Nothing.
Don't be afraid, Gus. I'm not starting a cleanup. I just want to find something.
I know from nothing.
For $50?
Huh?
$50.
It ain't good, Randy. I done a lot of favors for the cops. They shoot square with me. They kind of see I don't get hurt, but you...
This isn't a crusade. I want to find someone.
You leveling, Randy?
I'm leveling.
Well, if you ain't, if anything happens, both of us could end up real bad in the red. I do a nice business.
All right, just between you and me, Gus. Now, how about it?
$75?
Okay, 75.
Now?
I haven't got it on me. You know I'm good for it.
Then send it to me, not in person.
All right. I'll send it to you.
Uh-huh. Now, who do you want to find?
So I left it with Gus, and he arranged to call me at a pay station as soon as he learned anything. I waited in front of the phone for an hour, and then an hour and a half. And all the while I wondered what was happening with Professor Benson. The thing was building up in my mind. It'd be ironic if his system worked with my money. What would I do? What could I do? Whose money would it be? Then the call came through in the booth. Hello?
Randy?
Oh, yeah, Gus.
Yeah, I got what you want. But you got to promise no knockover.
No, I told you that.
Okay. There's a little guy like you told me about. He's playing the wheel.
Where?
Remember the old Dixie Club?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a layout in the back. Everything from Pharaoh to one-armed bandits. All fancy.
And he's there?
Yeah. And Randy.
What?
You better get there quick.
Why? What's the matter?
This guy's hotter than a $2 pistol, and the boys running the joint are getting cross with him.
All right. I'll see you.
Hold it.
What?
Will ya? You gotta know how to get in.
Yeah, that might be handy. How do I do it?
Well, when you get to the door, just say, the name is McReady. See?
Yeah. McReady. I went back to Mrs. Benson because I figured I might need her. And then the two of us went to the old Dixie Club. From the outside, it looked like a boarded-up house. But Gus knew what he was talking about. A knock on the door, it opened a tiny bit, and I was McReady. And the door opened all the way. Mrs. Benson and I went in, back to a big room filled with people. But the dice game was deserted, so was the blackjack table, and the faro layout, also the poker tables. But the crowd pressed in against the roulette table. Around a little old man whose face was flushed and whose skin glistened with perspiration. In front of him was a huge stack of chips, and as Mrs. Benson and I approached the table...
Number 11, black.
I won. I won again. It's working. You see, everyone, it's working.
Hello, Benson.
Stone.
Uh-huh. Doing all right, huh?
Please, you're not here to take me away.
Well, that's the general idea.
Harry, come with us.
Oh, no. Look, I've got all this, and there's more to come.
Okay, you're ahead. But there is something else. Earlier this evening, you...
Here's your money. Take it.
Harry, I've never seen you like this.
Sure. All this money, yours and mine.
Yeah, all right. Now, come on. Pick it up and let's go.
No. I won't let you take me till I play to the end of my system.
Your system, yeah.
Yes. I've waited for this. Waited till I knew I was right. Now you want to
Take it easy. What's your trouble, mister?
Are you speaking to me?
Right to you.
Who are you?
I happen to run this place.
Well, it's slightly illegal, isn't it?
Who are you?
I'll tell you. He's a newspaper man. His name is Stone, and he wants to take me away.
Stone, huh? How'd you get in here?
I know a man named McReady.
I wish I knew how you got to know him.
I was introduced. Now, let's cut out the small talk.
$5,000 isn't small talk. That's what he's into me for.
Any objection if he takes it and leaves?
I won't. You listen to me.
Harry, don't you know what you've done tonight?
Yes, I do. I've won for us.
All right, then take it and leave.
No, I said no. For 40 years, I gave everything I had to other people. What did they give me? A gold watch and a wonderful speech. But Dora and I couldn't eat the speech. Maybe if you spent over half your life in trying.
Harry.
All right, well, what do we do now?
It's up to him. He's playing a closed table. If he wants to go on, all right.
I do.
That answer you, Stone?
And what'll happen?
What do you mean by that?
Figure it out.
I see. You know what could happen, don't you, Stone?
Sure, I've met a few muscle boys already tonight.
Could get worse.
Okay. All right, Benson, it's your funeral. You've got $5,000 in front of you now. You can take it and leave, or you can play. Suit yourself.
I'm going to play.
No, Harry, no.
I've got 2 more numbers, Dora. 2 more.
Okay, place your bet, Benson.
Yes. 27, red. $1,000. Will you take that much?
I'll cover it. Go ahead.
Harry, for the last time, don't.
No matter what we say, he'll do it. Let him go.
27, red.
All right, spin it.
Sure.
And be careful.
Yeah, I'll be careful.
Please spin the wheel.
Harry.
What's the matter?
Nothing. Go on, spin it.
Sure. Number 27, red.
You see, you thought I was crazy, but look at it. I've won again.
Harry!
Benson! Come on, help me get him away from the
Take him into my office, will you? Get him away from here.
I've got to play one more.
Yeah, sure. You've got to play one more number. Give me a hand, somebody, please. That's it, thank you.
Don't
Come on,
take me away.
Benson.
Please,
Come on. All right, on the couch. This way.
You don't understand. There's one more number. My money. Where is it?
It's at the table. Now, take it easy.
No, my money. Somebody will steal it.
It'll be all right.
Dora, go back and get it. Dora, go.
I'll call for a doctor.
No. Let me up.
No, Harry, lie down.
My money. Get it, Dora. Get it.
All right.
It.
Stay with him, Mrs. Benson. Don't let him up.
Yes.
Well?
How much does he have coming?
Including the last spin, 41,000.
Can you cover?
I'll cover.
All right, cash these.
Wait a minute. Maybe he wants to play some more.
He's finished playing. Cash these.
Okay. Eddie, get 41,000 in the safe and...
No! Leave it there.
What?
Leave it there.
What are you talking about?
He wants to play it.
Oh, he's crazy. Let me talk to him.
No, he won't listen. He wants to play it to the end. He made me promise I would.
What? Well, do you want to?
I promised.
All of it?
Yes.
Can you cover that much?
Not at 35 to 1. 20 cents on the dollar, take it or leave it. Take it and I'll spin. Leave it and I'll close the wheel now.
I'll play it.
Oh, for the love of heaven, Mrs. Benson, it's $41,000 here. Do you realize you can lose?
He said I couldn't.
But he's got...
I promised I'd play it on number 21.
Oh, let me talk to him. Let me...
No, I made a promise. Play it.
41,000 on number 21, red. Is that what you want? All right.
A fair spin.
A fair spin. And the last one.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
All right. 21, red. Number 13, black. How about that, fellas?
Are you satisfied, Mrs. Benson?
Yes, I am. I didn't want it to win. I didn't want that money because it killed him.
It killed him?
Yes, he's dead.
What? Oh, Mrs. Benson, what can I say?
Oh, I was so sure. And I lied to him. I lied. But I didn't want it. It killed him.
You lied? No, you kept your promise. You played for him.
Here.
But his system, it's... Oh, Mrs. Benson, you played 21.
I know. And his last number was 13.
Well, here I sit, back in the office, wondering, watching the lights go out and the dingy gray of dawn creeping through the streets. And somewhere out there is an old woman A lonely old woman who could have had almost $50,000. But at the loss of something that no amount of money could buy back for her. The man who quit while he was ahead. Yep. Where there's a winner, there's a loser. That's the way it's been, and that's the way it'll always be. Oh, well. Copy, boy.
Night Beats, a new dramatic series, stars Frank Lovejoy as Randy Stone. Tonight's story was written by Russell Hughes. Night Beat is edited by Larry Marcus and directed by Warren Lewis. Music by Frank Worth. Others in tonight's cast were Jane Morgan, Stan Waxman, Wilms Herbert, William Tracy, Gerald Moore, and Jack Crucian. Frank Lovejoy will next be seen in Milton Sperling's production Rock Bottom, released by Warner Brothers. Throughout the week, NBC brings you the very best adventure mystery dramas on the air. You'll hear action-packed, fast-moving plots hold your interest right up to the smashing climax on NBC's thrilling mystery shows. During these stellar programs, you'll hear mystery and intrigue, adventure, and high-tension drama. Match your powers of observation against the best in detective fiction, in solving crimes and unraveling intrigue. There's fast-moving action to lift you from beside your radio into the romantic land of mystery and adventure. These exciting dramas are as interesting as tomorrow's race results today, and you'll hear them every night over most of these NBC stations. Remember, if it's mystery and adventure dramas you're tuned for the best on NBC. Listen next week at this same time and every week as Randy Stone searches through the city for the strange stories waiting for him in the darkness. The stories that come out of the shadows to find their way into Night Beat. Now, stay tuned for Brian Donlevy as a soldier of fortune on Dangerous Assignment on NBC.
This I believe. Antonio Iglesias is a writer. He was born and raised in Campeche, Mexico, but came to New York to college. From 1934 to 48, he was the New York correspondent of Universal of Mexico City. He has also written many philosophical and critical essays for both American and Mexican reviews, including the Saturday Review of Literature. Here is Mr. Iglesias.
Being a cripple from birth, a professional journalist and a writer by vocation, I have asked myself countless times, what can I give to my fellow men from the distillation of my own personal experience that can be of real help to them in these our times of troubles, of insecurity and fear, of doubt and anguish? I think it was Paul Elmer Moore who wrote that in this storm-tossed world in which we have to live, a man's ideals are his lifeline. How true this has been of my ideals, for whenever I have clung to them, with the hopeful desperation of a shipwrecked sailor, they have carried me to safety through raging winds and over angry waves. And I now realize that my lifeline always holds because its strands are everlasting, and because its two ends are securely fastened to the very rock of the eternal. What I mean is that my eager search for the truth, my fervent love of beauty, and my reverence for goodness have, time and time again, superhumanly saved me from the recurrent wish to die, from the devastations of sorrow, from the sharp pains and the dull aches of the body, from the dreary desolations of loneliness, from the humiliations of defeat, from the terrors of possible failure, from faithless despair, from bewitching temptations, from sloth, from moral indifference. Time and time again I have been lifted up, clear out of a seemingly unendurable situation, either by the laborious and fascinating accumulation of data for the eventual verification or rejection of one of my conjectures, or by the sudden illumination lighted within my consciousness by a far-reaching philosophical conclusion, or by the flames of beauty flash upon my inner eyes by a sunset, or by one or two lines of poetry aglow with a heaven-lit fire, or by the sublime fragrance that emanates from the performance of a noble deed. I do not know for certain what I live for. Only God knows that. But on the other hand, viewing my life in the long perspective of the years, I have learned, from the indubitable certainty of reiterated intimate experiences, that whatever fragments of truth, beauty, and goodness I have been able to reach have fed and strengthened my soul as milk, bread, and meat have periodically fed and strengthened my physical organism. And because of what seems to be their supernatural energies, truth, beauty, and goodness repeatedly and mysteriously have sustained and carried me forward into a more abundant life, even in the midst of the most threatening conditions and unpromising circumstances. Thus, the three tightly twisted strands of my lifeline have carried me safely through the storms, the strains and distresses of a life that has now lasted nearly half a century in a world full of troubles and tribulations. For their tensile strength has no parallel in this disintegrating world of matter. Their endurance is greater than that of the whole universe, and their two ends, believe me, are in the hands of God.
That was Antonio Iglesias, a native of Mexico and now a resident of Port Washington, New York.
Here's Dick Powell as Richard Diamond, private detective.
Hello there. My name's Diamond. If you spotted me on the street, you'd probably figure me for an average working man, but you'd be wrong. I fit the description all right because I break my back 6 days a week to keep my piggy bank nice and stuffed. But my occupation puts me in a class by myself. I'm a private, nothing in this world but a detective. You probably say, so what? The average working man comes under the heading of a lot of different jobs, and you'd be right on that count. But there's one little thing that puts me in a class all by myself. Trouble. Mr. and Mrs. Average John Doe work 6 days a week to keep clear of it. I put in the same time playing footsies with it. It's a kind of silent partner with references dating all the way back to the year one. People get in trouble every second, and I count on a small percentage to come to me to get them out of it. The rest, odds and good advertising. As an example, take the other night in a little bistro over on 48th Street. A couple of guys sitting at a back table were getting set for a special brand of trouble. The big kind that you find under the heading of murder.
Oh, Bert, old boy, this is turning out to be a wonderful evening.
I'm glad you're enjoying it, George.
Yes. Say, who's a blonde over there in the booth?
Well, I've never seen her before, but she's cute.
Yeah, she sure is. Good evening, baby.
Oh, George, take it
What?
easy. Maybe she's waiting for someone.
Oh, don't be silly. Look, she's smiling. Let's ask her over to the table.
Well, I still think she's waiting for someone. If you want to take the chance, go ahead, you ask her.
All right, I will. I said good evening.
Good evening.
My friend and I noticed you were sitting alone, and We wondered if you'd join us.
Oh, I don't believe I can. You see...
Oh, please. Just for a few drinks?
No, really. Thank you just the same.
Well, if you say so, but I'll be unhappy for the rest of the evening.
Hi, baby.
Tony.
I'm sorry I took so long, but... Hey, who's this guy?
Not Tony.
I said, who's the guy?
If you'll excuse me.
No, you wait a minute.
George, come on. I think we'd better leave.
This guy a friend of yours?
Yes, he is.
Was this guy making a pitch, man?
No, we only asked him over for a drink.
Oh, he did, huh?
Now, wait a minute, pal.
Please, I made a mistake. I'm sorry.
So you made a mistake. Well, I don't like jokers that try and pick up my girl. Hey, wait a minute. You didn't have to slug him. Maybe you'd like to do something about it.
Maybe I would.
That's the first time Tony ended up on the short end of a fight in a long time.
All right, George?
Yes, I think I cut my head.
Yeah, you're bleeding all over the place. You better get out of here, mister. I saw the manager duck in the back room. He's probably calling the cops.
Here, let me give you a hand, George. Here, now, take my hat and wear it over the cut until you get home.
I'm getting out here, too. You want me to drop you off?
What about your boyfriend? He's still unconscious.
He was that way when I met him. Do you want the lift or not?
What about you, Bert?
Oh, I'll be all right. Now, go on. Let her take you somewhere so you can get cleaned up. I'll grab a cab and head for my place. I'll call you in the morning.
But I don't
Now,
want...
stop arguing. You can't afford a scandal.
All right.
Come on, honey. Let's go.
This very nice apartment.
You better go get cleaned up. Back to that room. I'll get a couple of drinks.
I can sure use a drink. I won't be long.
Take your time. Yes. Tony, get out of here.
Where is that
Go
guy?
on, get out of here.
Why, you cheap little... I'll beat it out of you.
Let go of me. Take your hands off me.
Take your hands off her.
Help.
I'll kill the both of you.
Help. There's a gun in the stairs.
A gun? All right. I'll wring your little neck.
Oh. You shot him.
I did?
You better get out of here.
Yeah, but what about you?
Go on, get out while you can. I'll think of something.
Yes.
Leave the gun. I'll throw it in the river or something.
Huh? Oh, all right.
Now go on, beat it. You just killed a man.
Yeah, come in.
Hiya, Mr. Diamond.
Well, Hennessy, what did you do, wreck your cab?
Nah, it's down in the front. Hey, that's a warm magazine you're reading there.
Yeah. Listen to what it says here about women's bathing suits.
Huh?
1949 suits allow maximum exposure to sun. Note plunging neckline. Note. Who's going to miss it? If it plunges in the lower, it'd wind up at the bends.
Yeah. Mr. Diamond, would you mind shoving it in the drawer? The picture distracts me.
Not at all, no. I don't blame you, Hennessy.
Thanks.
Now, what's on your mind?
This.
A hat?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I can do you much good. What did you bring it to me for?
I found it in the gutter over in Flatbush.
So what? Some guy loses a hat. Don't tell me you want me to find him.
No, I just got to worrying a little, you see. I found this beside it.
Oh, a 38. Well, let's have a look.
Take a look at the hat, too. It's got blood all over the inside.
Yeah. And initials on the inside. BK. Gun's been fired. You can still smell the powder in the barrel. Why didn't you take this to the police?
Oh, I didn't want to get mixed up in it. You see, I got to pick up as many fares as I can. I ain't got nobody to drive my cab for me, and I didn't want to spend the day answering questions down at headquarters, you understand?
Well, you'll probably have to anyway. I'll have to notify them.
Yeah? Well, I thought maybe you could find out who owned the hat and maybe solve the case before you notify them, you see? That way I wouldn't have to spend too much time. I could just tell them I found it and beat it.
Well, I can't withhold evidence. It'd take away my license. And if you did, they'd lock you up.
Okay, I just thought
well,
maybe...
I can check the hat store before I get to the 5th precinct.
Yeah, well, won't that be a tough job? There's a lot of hat stores,
Well, this hat's got a label. Besides, when someone finds a bloody hat with a 38 lying next to it, I get interested. Particularly when there isn't a corpse to go with it.
Yeah. Well, I gotta go, Mr. Diamond. Thanks a lot. You got a free ride anytime you want it.
I may take you up on that. So long, Hennessy. Well, there you are. What did I tell you? When you're working with trouble, something always shows up. Sometimes it's just a routine case. A guy knocks off his wife and he comes to you because he suddenly found out that he had that lonely feeling. Or maybe you get a real screwy one. A taxidermist that got tired of stuffing animals and went to work on a neighbor. Or then you get one that gives you the same feeling you get when you pick up a poker hand and the first 4 cards you look at are all spades. Well, I was holding 2 cards. A hat with blood on it, a gun that had been fired, and all I needed to fill out the hand was a body. By all rights, I should have taken the evidence right down to my friend, Lieutenant Levinson, at homicide. But I didn't have anything to do, so I decided to see what kind of pieces I could fit into the puzzle. The label on the hat was from a store on 5th Avenue. It wasn't far from my office, so I walked it.
Yes, sir. Something I can do for you?
Yeah, stop munching your Sen-Sen and tell me if this hat is from your store.
Well, let me see it. These glasses are not telescopes, you know.
Yeah, here.
Well, if you're planning to return this merchandise, sir, I can assure you the store will not accept it. You've been bleeding on the sweatband.
Look, Rosebud, I just want to know if the hat is from this store.
It most certainly is. It's one of our custom models.
Who did you sell it to?
If you found this hat, we will be glad to return it to its owner. We are not supposed to give out the names of our clients.
I have a small badge here that should cut this conversation down to a few words. See?
Oh.
Now, would you mind telling me to whom did you sell this hat?
Well, just because you're a detective, I am not impressed. However, under the circumstances, I'll give you the buyer's name.
You're a real sport.
I suppose you wear a shoulder holster, too. Or is that bulge your tailor's fault?
Psst. Come here. I really keep a midget in there.
You don't say.
Yeah. He spits through the lapel of stupid hat clerks.
Oh, really?
Now, come on, Bright Eyes. Who bought the hat?
Well, if you'll just hold your horses.
That's the new line, if I ever heard one. Come on, Bubbles.
Yeah. Here it is. This hat was sold to a Mr. Bertram Calmus. We make all his hats for him.
Well, bully for you. What's his address?
430 Sutton Place. Now, will that be all, sir?
Yes, that will be all, and thank you. You've been a brick through the whole ugly mess. I left him watering his gardenia and headed for the residence of one Mr. Bertram Calmus. The apartment house was about 10 blocks away, and with the money I had in my pocket, all taxicabs started looking like iron claws with 4 wheels. I walked.
Yes?
How do you mean that?
Yes, I don't want any.
Oh, and I've got a pretty good sales stock.
I never buy anything unless I have a demonstration.
My middle name is Semper Paratus. Like the Coast Guard, I'm always prepared.
I suppose I could top that, but I'm getting tired of trying to close the door on your foot. What is it you want?
I hate to admit it, but I'm looking for Bertram Calmus.
My husband.
Good for him. Is he in?
No, but he will be any minute. Into the boss.
This hat, I believe, is his.
What blonde's apartment did it turn up in?
It was found in the gutter in Flatbush.
Well, Flatbush is a little out of his territory, but the gutter sounds familiar. What's that stain all over it?
Blood. Does your husband bleed a lot?
Not recently. We've been getting along. Are you from the police?
I'm a detective.
Oh. Come in.
I'd hate to be selling brushes.
I'd have slammed the door on your face.
Oh, well, then I made an impression.
Perhaps. Let's just say you're waiting for a sacrifice to move you to second base. Won't you sit down?
Oh, thanks. What happens when I round third?
That depends on your batting average, Mr.
Diamond, Mrs. Calmus.
That's it.
Now, getting back to a very dull subject, does this hat belong to your husband?
I don't know. It looks like one of his. Has it got any initials in the band?
Mm-hmm. BK.
When did you find it?
I didn't. The cab driver picked it up this morning.
And it isn't my husband's blood. He left about a half an hour ago to do some shopping, and he was very bloodless.
No cuts on his head?
No cuts. He came in around 2 this morning. He'd been drinking, but he wasn't cut up. Oh, there he is now. I hope we can discuss baseball another time.
Oh, I got all the things you wanted, and...
Bert, this is Mr. Diamond. He's a detective.
Yeah? Well, how are you?
Fine, Mr. Calmus. Tell me, is this your hat?
My hat? Let me see it. Why, no, it isn't.
The hat store on 5th Avenue says they sold it to you.
Well, I can't help what they say. That's not my hat.
Are you sure, darling? It was found in a gutter.
I don't care if they found it on a Yale man in the Harvard Club. It's not mine.
Well, I guess I'll have to take your word for it.
Wait. Isn't that blood on the hat?
Yeah. Well, goodbye, Mrs. Calamus. Mr. Calamus, nice meeting you both.
I'll see you to the door.
I can do it.
I know you can, dear. Coming, Mr. Diamond?
Sure.
Goodbye. I'm back again, Mr. Diamond.
Well, goodbye, Mr. Calamus.
Where can I call you?
What?
I can't explain now. Where can I call you in about a half an hour?
My office. It's in the book.
You'll hear from me, but please don't do anything until then.
Okay. Half an hour. Then I go to the police with this hat. Boss.
Mr. Diamond, this is Bert Chalmers.
Yeah?
Yes, I couldn't say anything to you in front of my wife. That is my hat.
Oh, I thought so. Why did you deny it?
Well, I was out with a pal last night. There was a fight over a girl. I didn't want to mention it in front of my wife.
Oh, how did the blood get on the hat?
My friend got hit on the head, and I loaned him my hat to cover up the wound.
What was it doing in the gutter in Flatbush?
I really don't know. My friend left with the girl, and I went right home.
Well, who is this friend of yours? I think something may have happened to him.
Well, I called him this morning, and he seemed very nervous about something, and he asked me to come over. I'm in the lobby of his hotel right now.
He's probably just worried about the girl he picked up. As long as the blood on the hat was from a cut on his head, I don't think there's too much to worry about.
No, Mr. Diamond, I think it's more than that. He's my employer, and I know him pretty well. I do wish you'd come over.
Well, all right, Mr. Calamus. What's the address?
The Whitset Hotel on East 54th Street. I'll meet you in the lobby.
Don't ask me why I started getting that lousy feeling when all I had was a bloody hat, a gun, and a pretty good explanation for one of the items. But there it was. That jammed-up feeling in the pit of my stomach, like I just swallowed a whole pineapple. Something was wrong, and I wanted to find out what. So I hurried over to the Whitset Hotel and met Calamus in the lobby.
I'm glad you came, Mr. Diamond. I just put in a call to George's room, and someone else answered.
So what?
Well, the man asked a lot of questions, like who I was and what did I want with George, and...
Oh, I take it George is your friend of last night.
Yes, George Watkins. He's the president of the firm I work for.
Well, let's go up. When someone starts asking questions like that on the phone, it begins to sound like the police have moved in. Come on.
Yeah?
Oh, hello, Walt.
Rick, what are you doing here?
Fair question. I'll answer yours if you'll do the same for me. I came up to see a Mr. George Watkins.
So did I.
Well, what's the matter? Is George in some kind of trouble?
Who's this guy?
Oh, he's a friend of Watkins. Works for him.
Oh, yeah? Well, come on in.
George, what's going on here?
You better let the lieutenant tell you, Bert. I can't think anymore.
What's the charge, Walt?
Murder.
Murder?
You got a call from a girl last night who said a man named George Watkins killed someone in her apartment. When we got over there, we found the girl dead, too.
Oh, well, you must have the wrong man, Inspector George.
Lieutenant. And I'm sure you think George wouldn't, but he just confessed.
George?
Yes, Bert, I killed the man. But I didn't kill her. The man came in and tried to strangle her. She told me to get the gun in the drawer, and when the man wouldn't let her go, I shot him. That isn't what the girl told us. She said she took this guy home after he'd been in a fight, and when they got to her apartment, he made a pass just as her boyfriend came in. Then Watkins shot him and ran out. We figure he got excited, and when he had time to think about it, he went back and killed the only other witness. I didn't kill the girl. I never went back there at all. I came straight here.
Walt, Mr. Calamus here was with him up until the time he left with the girl.
Is that right, Mr. Calamus?
Why, yes, sir.
Now, there was a previous fight, and Watkins got that cut on his head. Mr. Calamus loaned him his hat to cover the wound.
That's right, sir.
And, by the way, Walt, what caliber was the murder weapon?
.38, but we haven't found the gun yet.
Here, check this one with ballistics.
How'd you find this?
Cab driver named Hennessy brought it into me this morning. Found it lying with a hat.
Did you ever see this gun before, Watkins? No, I told you I don't own a gun.
Walt, what time do you figure he killed the man and the girl?
The coroner fixed the time of death about 1 o'clock this morning.
How long were you at this girl's apartment, Mr. Watkins?
Why, about 5 minutes before her boyfriend came in. I shot him and left immediately.
And you don't remember taking your hat or the gun?
What are you getting at, Rick? This is an open and shut case. He admits killing one of them, but he won't admit the other killing because he knows it was premeditated.
Oh, just a hunch, Walt, just a hunch. Mr. Watkins, would you mind telling me just what happened after the girl's boyfriend started choking you?
Well, I grabbed a gun out of the dresser near the kitchen and I shot him. And the girl told me to get out, that she'd take care of things, so I dropped the gun and ran.
Did you hear anything else? Anything unusual?
No. But, yes, now that you mention it, I did hear something that had slipped my mind until now.
What did you hear?
Well, I don't know whether I can describe it or not. It sounded like someone had opened a bottle of flat champagne.
What are you getting at, Rick?
Oh, wait a minute, Walt. When did you hear this noise?
Right after I shot the man. I remember wondering if someone hadn't opened a bottle in the kitchen.
Is that where the noise came from?
Yes, I think so.
All right, if I go over and case the scene, Walt?
We've done that.
Yeah, but you weren't looking for something. Why don't you come with me, Mr. Calamus? I'd like to talk with you. What's the address, Walt?
16 West 113th Street.
Well, now, look, don't worry too much, George. I can handle the business, and in the meantime, I'll do everything to get you off.
Thanks, Bert.
Now, you wait a minute, Rick. If you think you know something...
Walt.
Yeah?
Bye.
Calamus and I went downstairs and took a cab over to 16 West 113th Street. It was a middle-class apartment house in Flatbush, a 4-story brownstone. I let Calamus pay the fare, and we went in. I wonder what floor it's on.
Well, should tell on the mailboxes. Yeah, here it is. Nan Phillips, 206.
Well, let's go up. Oh, what do you do for Mr. Watkins?
I'm his vice president. That's why I took him out last night. I wanted to interest him in a new account. I just can't imagine him killing anyone, but I guess people do funny things when they lose their heads.
No. 206. Oh, here it is.
Yeah?
Hello.
Oh, no.
Good afternoon, Sergeant Otis.
What do you want, Diamond?
I want to stand out here in the hall and count the hairs in your 5 o'clock shadow. Now, let us in. The lieutenant said it was all right.
Okay, comic.
Mr. Calamus, meet Sergeant Otis.
How are you?
Hello, Sergeant.
Otis, make like a policeman and point out the circumstances in this killing, will you?
Well, I don't know why I should, Shamus, but if the lieutenant sent you over, I guess I'll have to. 2 bodies was over there by the window, lying pretty close together.
Uh-huh.
And the killer, that Watkins fellow, was standing about here in the center of the room.
With his back to the kitchen door.
Yeah. He shot them both from about here. Hey, what are you looking for?
Oh, I like to get out on my hands and knees. It's cooler.
Well, it won't do you no good to start looking for fancy clues. The guy already confessed.
Well.
Hey, what do you got there?
Just a wad.
So, you got some wadding from the murder gun. You better give it here.
Sure. But hang on to it, Otis, and be sure to give it to the lieutenant. Maybe you haven't noticed, but murder guns don't throw this much wadding unless you can kill someone with a blank cartridge.
What?
Don't let it throw you. Mr. Calamus, I've got some things to do. Can I drop you somewhere?
Well, no thanks. Now that Mr. Watkins can't take care of the office, I'd better go down and check over some things. But I'll keep in touch with you, Mr. Diamond.
You do that.
Now, wait a minute, Diamond.
Oh, stop trying to figure it out, Otis. You'll snap your wig. I was getting close to something. I wanted to tie the ends together before it caught up with me. I had a big fat hunch that Watkins had been framed good, and the more I found out, the more it looked like a killer was still loose. The whole setup had been screwy from the first. Why would a guy lose his hat and drop his gun in the same place? Or, if he threw them both away, why wouldn't he burn the hat and throw the gun in the river? Nobody's frightened enough to lay them side by side in the gutter. I learned a lot since this morning, and I was certain of one thing. The killer tried to make it look good, but he was an awful amateur. I knew something else, too. Amateurs can be awfully mean sometimes when you corner them. I put in a call to Walt and told him what I had, and then I asked him to give me half an hour and meet me at Mrs. Calamus's flat. I grabbed another cab, and 20 minutes later, I was sitting on a long couch next to Mrs. Calamus. It's easy to get that crowded feeling, even on a long couch. You just both sit on the same cushion.
Comfy?
Oh, yeah. What kind of perfume is that?
My sin.
Past or future tense?
A rounding second. What brought you back, Mr. Diamond?
Oh, I want to ask a couple of questions.
Past or future tense?
What time did your husband get in last night?
I told you about 2 o'clock. Why?
Do you know if he knows a girl named Nan Phillips?
I really don't know.
Oh. All right. Just a few more questions, and then we'll get back to that perfume.
I'll think ahead.
You said you'd been getting along with your husband. Would you mind explaining that?
Certainly, I like nice things, and lately he's been buying them for me.
Oh. What's your husband's salary?
About $15,000 a year.
Oh. Could he afford to buy you these things?
Well, he told me he was getting a raise, and he'd gotten a big advance. What's this all about?
Maybe I'd better tell you.
Bert, I didn't hear you.
I did.
What are you doing with that gun?
I'm going to use it. I found Mr. Diamond making passes at my wife, and I shot him.
Are you crazy?
Don't ask him that. He's liable to start thinking about it. You can't shoot me and get away with it, Calmus. What are you going to do with your wife? She won't back you up.
No, I guess she wouldn't. All right, both of you, get up and walk downstairs to my car.
Bert, what are you doing?
Your husband killed 2 people last night, Mrs. Calmus. Now he's going to try and cover because he guessed I knew how it was done.
You're not going to kill me, too.
Get moving.
Bert, please.
Go on.
Better do as he says.
Why did you kill anyone, Bert?
He wanted to frame his boss. I'll bet when the company checks, they'll find out he's had his hand in the till.
They won't find out, Mr. Diamond. With Mr. Watkins' book for murder, I'm next in line for president. I'll be able to fix the book so it will look like he took the money, too.
Is that where you got the money for all those things you've been buying for me?
You shot the man and the girl from the kitchen with a silencer, didn't you, Bertram?
That's right. I knew you were onto something when you discovered that wad from the blank cartridge.
I was onto something a long time before that.
Yeah? All right. Come on. Over to that gray sedan, and remember, I've still got this gun in my pocket.
You're an amateur, Bertram.
Is that right?
Sure. I knew you had something to do with it when we got over to the girl's apartment. I didn't know what floor it was on, and you looked in the mailboxes.
That's the best way to find an apartment, isn't it?
Yeah, but not once at any time did anyone mention the dead girl's name. But you knew it and found it on the mailbox.
All right, stop right here. Open the door, Gene, and get in first. The front seat.
Please.
Get in. All right. Now you, Mr. Diamond, you're going to drive.
You know, I left my license in my other suit.
Stop stalling.
I had to do something to stall for just a second because over Bertram's shoulder I spotted a prowl car sliding up to the curb, and good old Walt was climbing out. Bertram, would you mind answering just one question?
What is it?
The gun that Watkins thought he killed the man with was loaded with blanks, wasn't it?
Sure. I killed the guy from the kitchen with a silencer.
The whole thing was rigged, huh? The man and the girl were supposed to stage that fight, and Watkins was supposed to shoot the guy with the dummy slug.
You said one question. Now get in the car.
All right, Calmus, don't move.
What? Why, you...
Got Rick.
That was a close one. You're so right, Walt. Take his gun. I think you'll find it's the one that Watkins fired the blanks from.
How is he?
On his way. Hey, Bertram.
I'll go call the wagon.
Bertram.
Yes?
You want to tie the ends together?
I paid the girl and the man to stage the fight. I told them I wanted to frame George and blackmail him.
So you framed him with a double murder instead. Why?
I've been stealing money from the company. How'd you know it was me?
Well, knowing the girl's name, for one thing, and your wife told me you'd gotten in about 2.
Oh.
You told me over the phone you went straight home after the fight in the cafe. The killing took place about 1. Watkins said he'd been at the girl's for 5 minutes. About 15 to get to her place, so that meant you all left the cafe around 12:30. It doesn't take an hour and a half to get... Hey, Bertram.
John,
Huh?
I don't think Bert can hear you.
Yeah. Well, it was a pretty dull story anyway. Well, the wagon got there, and I briefed Walt on everything that had happened. They took Mrs. Calmus home and released Watkins. It was a stinking hot afternoon, and I needed something cool to bring me down to normal, so I headed for 975 Park Avenue. A tall lemonade with a mind of its own, and a curvaceous redhead with the same gimmick.
Yes? Oh, good afternoon, Mr. Diamond.
Afternoon, Francis. Miss Asherin?
Yes, sir. She's in the study, reading.
Thanks, Francis. Oh, how about something cool?
Yes, sir. Right away, sir.
Hi.
Hi. Wow, you look cool enough. That's a nice getup.
You like it? It's the newest thing.
Yeah, I saw it in the magazine. What do you do if it shrinks?
Oh, it's silly.
No, I'm concerned. You might get raided.
Don't you like it?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you think of me?
Oh, you're adorable. You're beautiful and you're cute.
Hey, that sounds like a song.
Mm-hmm. Come here.
No, not sing it. It's cute.
That's too hot.
I'm rather cool.
Well, I was only lukewarm until I spotted that play suit.
Go on. A, you're adorable.
Okay, but then I want to play. Get it? Play suit.
That was dandy.
Oh, yeah, I did. I know.
Go on.
Hey, you're adorable. B, you're so beautiful. C, you're a cutie full of charm. D, you're a darling. And E, you're exciting. And F, you've got feathers on your arm.
Rick.
G, you're a good to me. H, you so heavenly. I, you're the one I idolize. J, we're like Jack and Jill. K, you're so kissable. L is the love light in your eyes.
Rick.
M, Do you want me to finish?
I love you.
Oh, you're sweet. Come here.
Mm-hmm. Just one moment, sir.
Yes, Francis?
I'm not going to be embarrassed again. Here's your lemonade.
Thank you, Francis.
Oh, it's nothing, sir. A, you're adorable. B, you're so beautiful.
You have just heard Richard Diamond, Private Detective, starring Dick Powell. Helen was played by Virginia Gregg, Lieutenant Levinson by Ed Begley. Also in our cast were Wilms Herbert, Byron Kane, Lorene Tuttle, Paul Freese, and Wally Mayer. Music was under the direction of Frank Worth. Richard Diamond is written by Blake Edwards and directed by William P. Rousseau. Now, this is Eddie King inviting you to be with us again at the same time next week when we will again bring you Dick Powell as Richard Diamond, Private Detective. This is NBC, the national broadcasting company.